AoE CC with Wukong and Leona as well.
Hmm.
So that Victor W will be playing a lot of effect in the jungle, especially like choke points. But then when we look at bot lane, we have a Taric Senna versus a Tristana Leona,
Hmm.
and every time you pick a Tristana bot lane, you really want to be going in. You want to be engaging into fights, jumping in and just trying to burst someone down, right?
Hmm.
And the champions who pair with the Tristana are usually something like Leona in this case, Nautilus,
Nautilus, yeah.
Braum, for example. Those are some really good engage picks on bot lane to pair with the Tristana, and this gives you generally so much prio on the lane, especially into a support like Taric, whose early game isn't as strong as the bot lane of 100% here.
Well, we are loaded into the first game between NSG Forsaken and 100%. These two teams obviously coming in with a lot of expectations, a lot of hype, pretty highly placed in the tier list, and NSG Forsaken is definitely taking their time inside the base. Meanwhile, 100% already looking for the spread out here. I think it's pretty interesting that the Wukong didn't elect to go for the flash.
Uh, yeah, Ignite TP. That does mean that you're going for the kills on the lane.
Hmm.
Now is that what you really want? Are you going to be getting the kills with Wukong? Uh, it's kind of what you're saying is, jungle, please be on my lane, play for me, right? I'm the one that's gonna carry this game. I don't have flash, which also means saying to the enemy jungle, yo, look at me, I don't have flash, I'm a free gank.
And
At
not
the end of the day,
against
it is,
Trundle as well, right? Trundle has
yeah.
really, really good ganks. He has good setup with the set as well. And then the Wukong can be like, but I stack up my passive, so I have a lot more armor. Are you sure about that, brother? Because when you get Trundle ulted, all that armor just goes into the Trundle.
Yeah, I mean, Wukong though, he does have some escape potential with his W, right?
Mm.
The reworked Wukong, when did it come out? Last year sometime, or even 2 years now. It's been so long. But yeah, his W now, it is a small dash with invisibility to kind of put him away. But already we see some trades down in mid lane. And yeah, Trundle starting bot side, Volibear starting bot side. So they are looking to meet at the Scuttle Crab on top side. So Trundle opting to clear red and go clear top side, while Volibear will be doing the 5 camp clear, I think. What that's gonna do is it's gonna give Trundle much more presence in the river earlier than Trundle, right? Earlier than Volibear, sorry.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely right in that. But if he has priority in the lanes, which I think Victor early on actually has is pretty able to provide that priority, and also looks pretty good in the 2v2s. And from what we can see up and towards the top side, Nishiko already getting the push into Loris here is certainly helpful for that Volibear as we're approaching the 2.5 minute mark. So the next Scuttle Crab, or the first Scuttle Crabs, are just 45 seconds away from here.
Bot lane here getting really poked out by the Senna. They don't even have level 2 yet, so this is putting them behind because this lane does want level 2, and losing that much health and taking those trades at level 1 is setting you back really big for the
Farming
upcoming
Taric,
of the
by
lane.
the way, and the stun also lands onto me, Peter, who then chooses to re-engage. Exhaust coming out on the Tristana as the explosive charge will not quite finish off the kill on Tristana, but the reactivation of the W will mean that she does get the first blood here. Now Luchesco is walking away. Peter just trying to trade back a little bit more damage, but does get stunned up here, and the Luchesco is very strong here. Flashes forward into the bush, but can't stand up because he loses vision. Now Arvid here with the pillar. That means that he can actually pull back the Wukong here successfully. No flash available, and the flash forward from Arvid and the W from Effort guarantee that overall the kill score is 1-1.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we said, right? You don't have flash, but Volibear here, trying to get a
Volibear
response
here
kill.
trying to get a
Oh,
response
he
kill,
just
but the
misses
TP
with
is coming in. TP coming in here for the side of Nishiko, but they're trying to pillar place down. Mean that once again, they can just exploit the fact that the Wukong doesn't have flash up, and neither does me, Peter, here, and that means that Luchesco is trying to aggress onto him. But he didn't like that the first time, and Jiyoung is trying to find these kills continually. The substitute AD carry here, finding so many kills, 2 already, but does end eventually get traded out. Mibutita then finds the kill onto Senna, so holy moly, the pace of this game is going crazy fast.
This bot lane is just going all out. The amount of minions they're missing because they're constantly being dead or in base or coming out is absolutely insane. And this is also a pretty bad lane for 100% here because they are pushing into, their wave is pushing into the bot lane of Forsaken here, and I think that is what the Senna wants. Senna doesn't want to be pushed up. She doesn't have that much mobility to respond, right? She has that shroud, but that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So the wave being pushed here, if they manage to freeze it, it is really big for them. But yeah, we already see a 1k gold lead on the side of 100% now, and
Well,
that
that
is mostly
Evenson
down to the
might
kills.
look to counteract some of that by getting a gank off onto effort here. Wukong trying to come in. The flash is still available for set, and so is the W, but they don't find anything in the end. Arvid, in the meantime, trying to look for that Grump in the bot side. But Meatpeter spots him out, trades some damage back, and Arvid not successful so far. Obviously, both Scuttle Crabs now traded out across the map as well.
Yeah, and we see Trundle also. They are splitting the map, right? Volibear going into his topside jungle, Trundle taking his bot side jungle, and bot lane being really pushed up here could make them open for a Trundle gank. Keep in mind they don't have summoners, so Tristana has that rocket jump, but Leona's gonna be completely open if Trundle does look for a gank here, which it seems like he is.
It does seem like he is. He is going to pass
he
over
gets
that
spotted
ward,
here.
and they do have a lot of minions. Meatbeater whiffs on that Zenith Blade, so the re-engage won't quite be found. This minion wave is now crashing into the turret here. I mean, it went a little bit under the radar, but this is indeed farming Tark, which, I mean, you talked about the buff to Senna as Parker is forced to flash here. But yeah, because the Volibear does make his way into the mid lane, has not utilized his own flash, so the gank attempts he found so far have not worked out like Arvid's have.
So, the thing here is, right, look at how bot lane is pushed in. The fact that Tristana automatically pushes every time, right? Tristana doesn't want to
look
because...
for yet another gank as the Halo Blades does dissipate from Trist here. She does rocket jump away from Luchesco here, but now Meatpeter is caught in front of the pillar.
And
TP comes in, and the
tricky.
explosive charge also dangerous, so Luchesco already going down. TP was cancelled from
and
whoever
Volibear
TP'd
also
in,
stopped.
and
Volibear
you are
team stopped the
definitely
TP.
correct in that, and that means that Sinner picks himself up the kill already, so Volibear stops the TP in mid lane. Parker not actually getting down towards the bot line, and they just keep finding advantages here.
Senna looking with that Zenith Blade, and that was really close again. If that connected, Senna would have been dead, and that would mean even more XP lost for the bot lane of Forsaken here. And the bit on the lead on 100% is just slowly rising here. It is at 2k already. As
Sinner does take a bit of damage, but Parker is exposing himself a lot to the minion wave that was still... No, he wasn't. There was no minion wave there. What am I saying? He's losing mana, though. That's what he's doing. He's expending his mana and trying to look for that shove. Does not have the TP to get back into the lane, but if he gets this minion wave nice and quickly into the turret, he does have a favorable recall timing here.
If we look at gold a bit, right, we have jungle still somewhat even. Top lane 400 gold ahead, but the real gap is on the 80 carry with the 1k gold difference, right? And that is really, really big for the Tristana because just...
Usually you compare the two farming carries, right? And that would be Luchesco and Jiang. And I mean, it's not even close between the two. The Senna has more gold, but yet again, the Leona even has more gold than the Senna. So that's crazy down here. Doesn't really matter for the side.
I did not even see that it's a farming Tarek.
I've only mentioned it twice.
Yeah. It's just, it's, you know, we mentioned how much you can experiment with Senna, right?
Yeah.
And fasting Senna, but yeah. Tarek is just one of those champs where even if you see him, it just doesn't register so easily in your head that man, this Tarek is actually farming.
Yeah, I mean, we do see that Arvid is making his way up towards the top side, whereas Evenson is looking for that dragon. So once again, the Trundle trying to look for Gank onto Nishika, who does not have flash still, gets yeeted back here by the showstopper, and that means that they find themselves a kill and trade it for the cross-mapped dragon here.
So, I mean, that's what we said, right? No flash on top. You're leaving yourself open to ganks. And Volibear does well to know that, you know, their Wukong, who is kind of overextended, especially without any vision on top lane, is probably going to be open for a gank. And Trundle should be looking at top side here to get them back in and play through the set, right? Since top lane is the easiest lane to gank. And Volibear does recognize that and just capitalize it with a dragon. But the team of Forsaken here will be looking to respond with the Herald.
Yeah, they are, and if they place that down towards the top side, that is where they found their big advantages so far. But if a CS deficit here for the side of the set here, as Loris will now get the support from Arvid, and they're looking to crash this Herald into the turret. If we look, this will put the turret at about 1 plate still remaining, as they might also look for a dive, but the Wukong does have his ultimate, does have his ignite, and the
And
two
Volibear's
ultimates are
been
still
spotted
down.
out.
You are correct. The Volibear has been spotted out here as Meatbeater is trying to come in. Volibear fails to jump over the wall, and the Targ ult is up, so that means that Meatbeater also in danger. Pakea misses the Q, and now Meatbeater is in even more danger. Jiang choosing to re-engage, even though the exhaust is still available. That means that the explosive charge won't find the damage, and the remaining last shot comes out here from Yupea, who finds the kill on the Tristana. Meatbeater now at least has the support of Sinner, as he did manage to get away from Pakea, who does not have his flash available quite yet.
Yeah, that was pretty bad from the Tristana jumping back in there. She was out, and Leona was out as well. I think it's pretty lucky that the Leona did not get killed by the Ryze, because you really do not want to be giving Ryze gold. The longer this game is going to go, the scarier and stronger the Ryze is going to get. So the fact that he's not capitalizing off of the TP, you know, getting stopped by the TP, the Leona getting away, so not getting those crucial kills there, not being so helpful to the team is really crucial for the side of 100% to keep them in. And the gold lead, I mean, it's not that big of a lead, but it's not a lead at all anymore. The gold is basically even at this point, 400 gold gap between the teams, and that is from 2k gold lead before on the side of 100%. So Forsaken doing well to regain the gold they were behind.
Yeah, even Son looking a little bit foolish on that Sky Splitter, not actually managing to find his way over the wall, even though Parker would have been waiting on the other side. Certainly not what you want to see coming out here from the substitute jungler. He has basically only played the Volibear so far, if I'm not mistaken, as for some reason the camera was moving. But let's get that back on the road. As, yeah, I mean, the gold, as you're saying, in the bot side is closing. And in jungle, there has opened a bit of a rift between the two players here. Arvid really managing to find his footing early on into the game. And managing to especially convert in those topside plays.
So yeah, the gold on bot lane is closing. The Senna getting that shutdown, which is really important, really big on her. But Tristana does get 2 plates, which is 160 gold, because it was split with the Leona. So she does kind of regain that gold, because the bounty was only 150 gold at the start. So the gold is still somewhat even between the 80 carries, but you know, Forsaken has such a late scaling comp with the Ryze Senna that, you know, just getting these kills early and the game still being even at 12 minutes is actually like they're leading. In the core of the idea of the draft, the fact that, you know, the longer you stay even early game, the stronger you're going to be late game.
Well, but the side of 100% also doesn't have a terrible scaling. I mean, Wukong looking better and better the later on in teamfight it goes. And the Victor also benefiting from just being able to build more items, get more XP. And I mean, Tristana is no slouch either. Now the dragon will spawn in just under a minute, and teams are starting to set up around it. The map set has basically been cancelled by all the action that has happened so far, as Meatbeater interrupts the recall with a solar flare here. This means that Evenson might look for a potential kill, as the recall was once again channeled in the same bush. Zenith Blade comes out, which does mean that that one is actually the Sky Splitter, as the ultimate of Volibear is of course the Stormbringer.
This is really well done from Leona, though, stopping the backs from the Trundle, making him unable to reset. He is only sitting on 400 gold right now, so he doesn't, I don't think he gets anything on the back, except for maybe a Ruby Crystal or some wards, which would be helpful, but again, it's
found out by Sinus W here, as now Evanson is looking at Luchesco to potentially threaten something. Stun does connect onto Jiang though, and so he does utilize the rocket jump after. Meanwhile, Meteor has already started up the dragon. Both TPs come out here, and the Taric ult is not quite in time. As I say that, I tell a lie, because just about in time he does survive. Ignite does take him down in the end, and so 2 kills already going over in the side of 100%, but Effort has something to say yet still. And so 2 kills traded back for now, as Loris is incredibly low. Jiang finds the kill and then finds the rocket jump out, but gets crit down in the end. Parker not managing to connect the Q as the Volibear stands in front of it, but now he's on to the chase. Another Q going just wide as he's trying to utilize the Realm Warp to catch up. He
Oh,
doesn't even
that
need
hit!
it as the fadeaway Q does hit him indeed. And now they do find themselves a 5-for-3 trade and a Mountain Dragon as well.
That was a really well-played fight from the side of Forsaken there. Ryze and Senna being on the backline, and even while Set went for their front line, or I mean, while Set peeled for the backline, Ryze and Senna were just free hitting Wukong and try to get on top of them. But I mean, just Ryze EW caging the Wukong, it's just can't even get close. And the Senna damage already at this stage of the game is really big. And just as info, right now she's sitting on 62 souls, which for how bot lane went early game, 62 is a pretty good number considering she died 2 times on lane, with Taric as well dying 3 times, and bot lane looking really rough for them in the early stages. The fact she's at 60 souls is pretty good right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did talk about the Divine Blunderer for the Senna, but she does elect to go for the Kraken Slayer, which does give her a lot more damage against the Volibears, the Wukongs, and the Leona of this world, as now they're trying to trade onto Loris here, who finds to have at least Arvid to give him some support, but both of the bot laners have also roamed up, and so while they might find that Volibear kill, let's see if they can actually trade back. Loris getting dropped inside the face and inside the Showmaker, as I say that, I think
Oh,
I
and that's just
revealed.
not enough to kill the Trundle.
It's just barely not enough, indeed. Yeah, I mean, they do find that kill, and that does mean that they could potentially look for the Herald. Tristana, obviously being a fantastic turret demolitionist, could certainly look for some potential advantages in tier 2 turrets in the future. Victor, meanwhile, is sitting up on top, while the bot lane of NSG Forsaken has made its way into mid lane, get a bit of damage, but Tristana does manage to take that minion wave out rather quickly. In the meantime, we do have Parker doing basically the same thing that Sinner is on the opposite side of the map.
So, as you said, yeah, they're doing different things on other sides of the map, and 100% picked up Herald. The Herald is on Wukong, who is going bot side here. Bot side tower also being pretty low, but bot side tower is
Sinner might be
1.5.
overstaying his welcome. Here they do get the first turret on the side of Parker. Actually, I tell a lie, because Tristana manages to secure itself that first turret in mid lane, and so Parker being just moments later means that the more gold is going into the Tristana's pocket, and so the gold gap once again opening a little bit here for the AD carry, but the rest of the map is looking a lot better for the side of NSG Forsaken.
You see, opening the mid lane tower is such a crucial moment in every game because what it does, it gives you the ability to go deep in the jungle. It makes mid lane a long lane as well, especially for enemies who push up a bit.
Potential
Here we
trade here
see
onto Parker,
engage on bot
as he
lane,
does have the support of Evanson as well. Meanwhile, the other
and
side
he
of the
is roll
map is
morphing away.
finding the same sort of story. Meatpeter catching out the Realm Warp beautifully, and Jiang is close by. A nice CC chain keeps Parker just locked up for ages and ages. As the topside action does dissipate, Sinner does not fall, does not have to burn summoners, and only trades.
We'll be looking to trade bot lane tower here for the mid lane tower. They do have Herald, so they will be popping the Herald, yes, on bot lane. But I don't know if it's worth popping the Herald on bot lane there. I mean, Wukong was there already. Top lane tower also being really low. Seth is a bot side as well, so if they manage to get this Herald to do one more charge, then it will be pretty worth. We see two people still in mid lane and Trundle resetting near there.
Is trying to escort it, but Loris takes the aggro early on, turns the Herald around, and then bobs him in the back of the head. So that one will fall without receiving a second charge, and so that means that now all of the tier 1 turrets for the side of 100% have been opened up. Very similar item builds here for the 280 carries so far, as what I say is a bit of a lie, because the Fountain Dancer just looks like the Spectral Sickle here, as Evanson might look to steal away this red buff, does do so with the Smite successfully, has the support of his mid jungle to back him up here.
We also have Dragon coming up in 50 seconds, and it is a Cloud Drake, which basically just makes it so much better for the team of for Forsaken here, because they are a late scaling team, and we talked about it yesterday. What we think about dragons, late in the night, and I think getting Cloud Drakes just allows late scaling comps to just thrive, right? because they don't really need to take fights. They can just wait it out. Even if they lose a Drake or two, it doesn't help. I mean, it is a Cloud Drake. It is a pretty big ult on, especially on like the Realm Warp. That just gives you such good rotations. But yeah, it is a Drake that they can even afford losing if they don't want to. But
Well,
Tariq
they
getting a
are
stun
looking
here.
to start the fight around that exact dragon. Instead of waiting to scale, they want to take the aggressive maneuver here. So Jiyoung has to use basically everything in his arsenal to at least attempt to stay safe. So far, he's managed to find the comfort of his own turret, but that won't last long if there's an angry troll running at it. Now Loris is finding Meat Eater and pulls Ivanson as well back into his own team. Now they do find a good amount of damage onto the rest of the side of NSG Forsaken, but the Targ ult does manage to make them survive for just a second. That's not enough, however, as they do manage to pick up 2 kills for the side of 100% already. Now Wukong is trying to stall time to get into the river, getting yoinked back here by Loris, and so far it's a 3-for-3 trade overall. But they're not done yet as Meat Eater looks for another engage, and here is what I was talking about, with the nice Victor having the follow-up, but they're fighting in the choke here, and that is certainly not so good when being faced with a set W, who lands a massive haymaker, but that does not mean that the second Victor W doesn't seal the fight and doesn't seal the fate, as they finally end the team fight and 100% stands the victor.
This was a really long fight, but it was what we mentioned before. The choke points, the jungle fights, is where Victor thrives the most, and that is what happened. Volibear also landing his ult on 2 people, dealing so much damage. Uh, I, I feel like if this was just a fight in the river, it was Forsaken's to win, right? But in the jungle, I think it's all 100% there.
Well, that is
It
some of
was
the
really well done from
avenues that they
yeah.
can find fights is through fighting in these choke points. And remember, the fight started out with Jiyoung getting chased under the turret and actually dying, and then re-aggression coming out from the side of NSG for a second, who chased so deep into their jungle, and then even they still land a beautiful Tariq ult to just keep 2 members barely alive, but it's just not enough.
You know, the Wukong there in the fight, actually doing such a major part. Seth being forced to flash over the wall, trying to peel off of the Senna. Seth doing a fantastic job landing his E there, pulling the Wukong back. But it's just not enough, you know, it's the thing. Senna being really squishy, opting for the Kraken Slayer build. She is going to be, well, I think full build with Kraken Slayer at the end, at level 18, you have like 1.7k health, 1.6k health. And level 18, those numbers are like you have 400 health early levels.
Well,
That is how
Nishiko
much a
is being
support.
aggressed on here by Arvid and Pakea, but they don't find the root onto him. The stun from Tariq does, however, land, and so the Solar Flare is just it's just not enough to keep the top laner here for the side of 100% alive, who's had
Oh,
a
and they are
pretty
looking
rough
for
game.
the Baron.
They are looking for the Baron. Both TPs are available here for the side of NSG Forsaken, and Loris will utilize it to get towards the Baron. Now Nishiko's TP is still down, so this is a 5v4 here, as Arvid takes the brunt of the aggro at the moment. They don't quite finish him off, as once again the Target does save. But once again the Victor W is just massive, and so they find the kill on Luchesco early on. Jiyoung trying to jump over the wall, looking for more aggression. Nice Everfrost here coming out from the side of Parkhill, as Loris is sitting in the bush, maybe looking for another Haymaker and another Facebreaker, as now once again in the choke points, the Victor Ws just keep landing and landing.
And I mean, again, that fight from Forsaken, I said they play as a team, and they are showing the fact they're playing as a team, but it just comes down to just those overstays. Trundle trying to zone out. I don't think it should be the Trundle zoning out. Getting caught out. Tariq needing to ult to disengage and save the Trundle, and he paid with his own life at the end. His ult just going a bit too short. I mean, not lasting as long as they would have wanted to. Gets Trundle out. They need to stop Baron, but, you know, 100% takes the kill on Tariq there. So wasted ult from Tariq. It's almost halfway down off a cooldown. But yeah, Forsaken really overstepping with those fights. If they just wait and play slow, I still think it's their game. But I think another fight like this, or maybe 2 fights like this, and I just don't think they'll have enough steam to take the game.
I think what we saw in the last 2 fights is the 2 things that we mentioned in the draft combined with each other. On the one hand, the choke points in the jungle, and on the other hand, the ease of execution of these compositions. Right? We talked, or I mentioned briefly, that when you see the side of 100% slowly rolling up to that objective, they can just slowly walk forward and press all their buttons, and they will find something. And then the choke points with continuous Victor W's actually doing so much work here for the side of 100%. Oh my god, look at the amount of souls you get from Krugs.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
This is what I was saying before, right? If Senna plays the game perfectly, moves with her jungle, she just gets so much souls from those jungle camps.
She's
And I mean, if we
already
look at her
sitting at
now,
100, over 110 souls.
yeah,
Horse is also spotted out here.
110 souls is massive. The range she will have.
Luchesco is spotted out here by Jiyoung as they don't manage to defend the ward, so he does collect that for himself. But Luchesco has been really dwindled out of the gold, right? He's only sitting at 7k for a farming carry. I mean, not a carry, for a farming support, rather. And that is just not a lot. As Evanson does get pillared back, but doesn't get punished.
Yeah. I'm also wondering what Senna's going to opt for the build here. I think a Guardian Angel would really be needed on the Senna. She is going for that rapid fire cannon, but she also has the Rage Knife, which I don't think is such a good item to buy unless you get Rage Blade really fast, right? Because it does remove the crits and it removes the extra damage. Sure, it gives you a bit of on-hit, but...
well, you do get a lot of on-hit from the Senna passive, right? You do have a lot more crit chance than you might expect for someone that just has a Rage Knife and a few spare crit items, so you do get quite a bit of extra damage. I do generally like what you're saying here. I think that a lot of Sennas do actually like to go for this route where they finish their rapid fire cannon before they actually finish the Rage Blade. I think that when this build was very common, that is what people did look to go for most of the time, as Pakevechta is actually finding himself the dragon here. So while they're dancing around the Baron, and wow, Nishiko on the side of 100% is looking for some
Nishiko might be getting caught out here.
Well, he has looked decent in the 1v1 against Ryze, at least so far, but there is a 2-level difference between the two of them, and you said there are not many champions, if none at all, that can actually answer the Ryze in the side lane. Pakevechta will start the recall here, and Nishiko does collect that way, and that does actually mean that Pakevechta does interrupt his recall. So they're just dancing around each other while we're still at a bit of a stalemate. And as I say that, the camera yoinks us back up top lane, so we get to watch the execution of the Victor, who did end up overstaying in the side lane.
Barely survived.
Just barely, just barely.
But yeah, the thing with Wukong on the side lane, right? He can TP and look for a flank anytime he wants. Ryze has his TP up as well. He has the Realm Warp up. And they can look for the pick with Ryze, and Wukong also at this point, I don't know how good he will be into Ryze. He's got plated steel caps, so no MR on him. He's got the Sunderer, he's got a Phage, he's got another Ruby Crystal, but no MR, while the Ryze has a Zonias already, has an Archangel Staff, has a Everfrost.
What? 3 completed items versus 1.
Ryze is really big right now. Also, if we look at Senna completing the rapid fire cannon already, Set having 2 items as well, so Wukong being really far behind here. 1-5-5 for him, so not a lot of kill gold, while as Set 4-3, definitely that's at least 1.2k gold from kills.
Well,
Ryze as well on 3 kills.
His gold count is the most comparable to the farming Taric. So definitely not sitting in the position that he might want to be at, but he has looked at least valuable in some of the team fights that we have seen so far because of the amount of lockup. And when you do get to proc the Conqueror, not many items then eventually matter on the side of the Wukong here. So if he can find that, if he can find the flanks that you're talking about, the TPs, then he could still offer a lot of value to his team. But so far it does look like they're just trying to play the 4-1 here for the side of NSG Forsaken, forcing the Victor to recall here, and Pakea sitting nice and pretty down in the bot lane. Level 16 already, so does a lot more extra damage, and that means that he just gets a free solo kill down here towards the bottom side. Nishiko really not respecting the extra damage that you get from those level spikes, but maybe Pakea isn't respecting level 16 from Sinner either. Has to flash away. Sinner still having his flash available. The Zonias does come out eventually here, so he winds up the auto attacks and winds up the execution. Sinner trying to offer protection with her ultimate as they do start up that Baron, but they are clearing this on a ward, and Evanson is looking over the wall here. The Sky Splitter is Stormbringer rather is available here, and the smite does go down, but Set secures it with a haymaker while just trying to yoink the volley bear back. Now the Victor W is flashed away from here by Arvid, but it does stun up Luchescu, who thus only gets to ult very late into the teamfight. It's still not enough for them to actually finish off the Trundle here, and now Sinner caught out already as he was looking too greedily at that execution onto the Victor. So they find the Baron, they find the teamfight, and they find basically everything they could ask for.
That Baron was sitting on like 20 health for at least 2 seconds. That was scary, and I mean, just going into the fight there, I feels like it was deja vu almost. Arvid barely surviving due to the Taric ult once again. This time Tari coming through and
I don't think it actually
actually.
hit him.
Oh, it didn't? I
I
feel
think
like it
that it
did.
was just me, Peter, going in, and obviously the Leona damage is not immense at this stage of the game, but it was certainly enough to protect the to protect the Trundle, whether it did actually manage to find him or not. So just the way that they're playing their team comp is a lot more smooth, a lot more round. They're starting to really find those side lane advantages, and they're starting to play around it. Paquet obviously being an outstanding player that you've mentioned so far, even before going into the game.
Yeah. Also, would want to mention out that Senna is is already at 150 souls or 148 at the moment. So Senna basically is just, even if she doesn't like finish her items, she is full build already with those souls. As Rise looking for the Wukong there yet again,
Ooh,
getting really
Jiyoung
close.
gets slowed up here, but does not actually get punished, so he's managed to get away from all of that jazz. As maybe Evanson is trying to look for something, but walks over two wards, and so the entire path of him is spotted out here. Wow, the damage of the Rice is just getting absolutely mental. He is really, really out of control right now, and the Victor can sort of contain him a little bit, kind of. But that is not the matchup that they find themselves in consistently. Rather, it is Nishiko that has really, really struggled here so far in this game. Has managed to complete his Sterak's Gauge, and that means it is also off cooldown, as the 5th dragon of the game will be started up here from the side of Forsaken as the ward goes next to the bush, which is pretty interesting, but the TP
Well,
still
that's
coming
TP
in.
from Nishiko.
Now the TP is going to complete, but Paquer is here in time to actually set up for the damage. Volibear has to ult out, and so they do find the kill onto Luchescu early on. Loris also having lost a lot of HP. W is flashed away from here by Jiyoung. That does mean that they do find 2 kills here in this fight so far already, but now they're caught up so badly, and so that will mean that it is a 3-for-2 for the side of NSG Forsaken in the end.
Yeah, 100% just lacking damage at this point, and it's just I think point of no return. Senna and Rise are so big at this point in the game. I just don't think 100% can get on top of him. They really need to catch someone out of position if they want to win this game.
Yeah, they have a double carry threat and then 3 meatballs, and the meat shields and meatballs are just enough for them to actually leverage all of the advantages that they have built up for themselves here so far. And so they're looking
Could
to
just look for a finish here if they want to, but they are looking for it.
definitely
They are pinging the
pathing
towers.
that way. Baron buff is not available for them, but the massive Senna damage onto the turret and just the damage onto the minion waves and champions coming out from Rise means that they already find the Volibear. TP coming in to protect the minion wave. Loris also here to just look at his team as there's a nice Victor W to at least momentarily stall out the game, as well as the stopwatch. But in the end, Yopea does find the last couple of auto attacks, as all he cared for right there was just hitting Nexus. Beautiful little game here coming out from the side of NSG Forsaken, finding themselves at 1-0 up against the side of 100%.
Yeah, really close game as well. Just 3 kill difference at the end, 4K gold difference. But really well played from the side of Forsaken here. They played their comp, played into late game just like they should. Taking a bit of those early game fights, which maybe wasn't the best idea considering, Senna and Rise get bigger the later the game goes. So those fights were a bit coin flip. But yeah, all around, playing the game really well. And 100%, I think, showed where their weak spots is. So Forsaken is able to capitalize on that. Um, Game 2 could be something else entirely because I don't think Forsaken actually has shown that much weaknesses, except for maybe those early game fights
Yeah.
that they really shouldn't be taking.
Yeah, I think that
But
that
besides
might
that,
be something that could be exploitable. And I think that for the side of 100%, one thing that we have to mention is the game would look very, very different if Wukong just had Flash, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, Wukong wouldn't be getting caught out on lane. I mean, there's just no kill pressure on the set. I did mention it before, going in game that I think it actually is somewhat set favored.
Mm.
the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Trundle did play a big part in that Set versus Wukong matchup by making it a 1v1 plus jungle. But yeah, I think taking Ignite TP is it is a bit cocky.
Yeah, and it is especially cocky since they didn't play around him at all, ever.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
only played around their bot side. They played a little bit around mid lane, but the advantages that 100% did find for themselves were in close team fights, were in 1v1 or like laning scenarios, like pure mechanics, trying to skill check their enemies, and well, that might have worked so far. There's definitely some sort of synergy or coordination that seems to be lacking coming out from this iteration of 100%. We have to see if they can find their footing in game number two. Um, I'm not sure whether we're getting a lobby here or not, but do you think that you said that NSG Forsaken hasn't shown many weaknesses? Do you think that 100% has already exhausted its tank?
I really, really hope 100% kind of collects themselves. I feel like, we talked in draft. We were like, Volibear, yeah, I know, not the biggest fan of it. Also, they weren't really utilizing his ult. I don't think I've seen the Volibear ulted tower once this game, right? And let's just think about how strong that is, disabling a tower. That just, it makes a dive into not a dive at all, right?
Mm.
And we haven't seen that, especially with how much prio their bot lane had early game. Um, so, maybe if they kind of take a different approach going into the game, um, maybe a slight change to the draft. I feel like I still think 100% could bring out a winning game two here. I don't think they've shown everything yet.
So, what are some of the things that they could potentially look to change? I mean, just taking Flash on Wukong is
I mean,
obviously
that's
we're
that's
saying
one
that a
thing.
little bit facetiously, right? Where we're not really like totally serious about that. So, what do you think they could do other than that?
Well, I mean, again, like Flash and Wukong, like you said, there's I think two top laners in League that take TP and Ignite, and that's Gwen and Camille.
Oh, Viego
Um,
too.
oh, Viego as well, yeah, but we
Kali.
don't really see Viego in lane right now that much.
I mean, if you watch LPL, you do. I
I
think
mean,
I
we're
saw
better than
three.
LPL.
True, true.
SLE is objectively better than LPL.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, that's
heard it
fair.
here first.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Anyway, let's go off of that Flash. But yeah, again, the Volibear pick, I'm just not the biggest fan of.
Mm.
Lee was open, and I think Lee could have done much, much more that game. I do not know if 100% jungler plays Lee. Um, I don't really know champion pools that much from either team.
Mm.
Especially going into drafts like this. I kind of like to be surprised because I mean, both me and you, we know somewhat how drafting works. We know at least some basics of what to pick, when to pick. Um, and I mean, we see that in ban phases, right? People more tend to ban comfort picks over actual meta champs. We did see like the Zin ban game one, the Viego ban game one, the Ziggs ban game one, which are all somewhat meta champs. So there is that correlation between meta and people play them or just meta, right?
Mm.
If there was something that's just meta and just is a win and you can't first pick it, right? Let's say if Viego was just an insta win while you pick it,
Yeah.
and you're red side, then I think it would be insta ban every time, right?
Yeah.
You would never let it go through. Even if the people don't play it, you don't want to flip it that someone just tries it and just wins the game because they're trying a champ that's just broken, right? But in this case, I think it's more about banning comfort picks. That's what we've seen with the Pyke ban, with the Tom Kench ban. Again, those are champs that are strong in solo queue.
Mm.
People can make them work. Um, Especially Pyke is a champ that you don't really see often right now in competitive play. It is a
I
really
think it
niche pick.
depends.
It is a niche pick, right? It's not a pick you want to pick in the first rotation either way. So yeah, maybe.
Hillisang wants to know your location. I think Hillisang would disagree with what you're saying. But yeah, I think
But
I do agree, and I think with the reason that we see that banned out is the way that me Peter actually performed the first time that he did play that Pyke, where they did look so unbelievably dominant because of what actually came out from him mechanically. Um, so yeah, I think what you're saying definitely has a lot of merit. I just think it's interesting that In this draft, you're saying we're seeing that they ban out comfort pick, but I think so far this draft more than anything else has gone a lot more to those expectations, a lot more to what we would consider meta, rather than just straight out banning 6 bans or potentially 10 bans that are just comfort picks. So I think that there has been a bit of a change from what I've seen so far. Their jungler, their substitute jungler, Evanson, basically only plays Volibear. Um, it's been 2 games that he's played Volibear, both of them actually losing because of the substitute that they do have to make, because of some restrictions, obviously, around their team. I did think Sinner looked pretty good in their matchup, in that mid lane matchup.
Yeah, I think Sinner played the game pretty well, especially side lanes as well, catching out the Rise at one time. But again, I feel like the issue was 100% just, especially that Baron fight at the end, right, where they went in for the fight and 3 of them ended up dying.
Hmm.
Uh, Once you get the Taracle, there's no need to keep on going, right? You can just back off and look for a re-engage. Uh, Not right away, but you can just wait it out a bit and play it slow, right? You need to know when to slow down the tempo of the game. And I feel like this game it was just once the fight starts, it's like a train. Until it comes to a full stop, there's no slowing down. It's just gonna be ramping up until it comes to a stop.
Yeah.
And that's how the fights went. And I think in fights like that, especially into champs like Taric, you do wanna put on the brakes sometimes and just take it a bit slower, and then again just full throttle it and just go again, go hard, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they are gonna lose the Taric, and yeah.
So I think that, interestingly enough, we did see that sometimes fights would start out with 2 kills going in favor of either team, and then, funnily enough, it actually ending up going the opposite way of like what we didn't anticipate of where it could go. And so I think that the mechanics that some of the players displayed have been absolutely fantastic so far. But also we do see some missteps, like Volibear ulting against the wall, like things of that nature, or like an overstep from the victor coming out. So why they sometimes find fights at numbers disadvantage that do actually go in their favor, I think that we have to look and evaluate how reliably they can take that, and I think that's the point that you're trying to make, right? How safe are you in taking these fights?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the time, safety gets overlooked
Hmm.
in games. It's just people don't think about what's safe. And in scrims, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, let's talk about the safety later on because we're starting a draft. And I'm interested to see the bans this time around. Is 100% gonna change anything up? They're starting with the Viego ban, just like they did last time around.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if they're gonna ban anything from Forsaken from last game. Um,
Do you
the
consider
Senna and
anything ban
Rise.
worthy?
I feel like the Senna was posing them a really big threat, and they couldn't pin her down. So I feel like if they would opt for a ban here to ban something out from last game, I definitely think it would be the Senna.
I would have
Forsaken banning
fit
out the Tahm
more
Kench.
that they ban out the Rise, because I felt like that they did find early game advantages against the Senna, and I think that if they coordinated more around diving the bot side in actuality, I think that there are avenues that aren't impossible, as the side of 100% does disagree with me and agrees with you instead. So another W in your book here, as they do choose to ban that pick out. Obviously, it makes sense. There's good reasons for why they might not want to play against it, but the picks that it does leave open are, I think the Gnar is left open. What else? I'm missing something. Um,
Like
so far, we have to see.
Zin's open as well.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, anyway, I wouldn't mind seeing a Rise ban as well, but they go for the Ziggs. So
Yeah.
banning the Ziggs, leaving the Rise open.
They could
For
look to first pick this. I think Sinners also played it and also looked pretty good on it.
Yeah, Rise
Um,
first pick is not a bad thing.
yeah. And I think
Uh,
that once again, Thresh of Failures has been left open. I don't know if either team really likes to play that. And nope, it's just gonna be Jiyoung's
Another
Tristana
first pick.
once again playing for the limitations of the role-swapped players. So that is unfortunate to see, right? It sort of tells me that there's a lot that we're not seeing coming out from these teams.
I mean, Tristana again, she didn't do bad last game. She actually did the most,
Yeah.
I feel like, in 100%, and Forsaken going with the Trundle here. It was their pick last game, and they could just be looking for something similar as last game, but they go Trundle Lulu.
Oh,
I
let's
mean,
see if the
Lulu not
hover
being
does
locked
get
in,
locked in. Yeah.
not being locked in, but uh,
Trundle looked
could
really, really good last game, I have to say. I think that
he
Trundle
did.
continuously looks like one of the best picks that we have seen so far in SLE, and also in all of the roles that he has been played in, basically finding wins across the board. Now that Lulu does get locked in, do you think this is a direct answer to Tristana?
Uh, I think if you take Lulu, right, you're basically saying, okay, it is a counter not to Tristana, but just to the whole dive comp in general, right? You've got the ult, you've got the polymorph. Um, I'm not a big fan of enchanter supports. I do think enchanters are much better on like other lanes.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a Lulu mid or a Lulu top. I
Yeah.
mean, I would rather see it there than on bot lane, because I feel like you have so much more utility and everything else from engaged supports like Braum, Leona, Nautilus, Alistar.
Mm.
I think those are all much better picks, but 100% opting for a Seraphine here,
So you had another
which
enchanter.
another enchanter, and it's going to be a Seraphine support with an Orianna mid lane.
Alright, so you are definitely, like, this is what we're going to be seeing. Sinner choosing to not go for a mechanical champion, or not a highly mechanical champion. Of course, there are some cool things that you can do on Orianna, as we see some potential AD carry hovers here. Sinner looking really, really good last game, and also looking good in the past games. So let's see what he can do in that blind pick matchup in the mid lane. So we do now know that it is going to be that Jinx and probably Lulu bot lane, right? This is something that we probably see paired up. But then again, they could just throw a spanner in the works and pick a late Thresh, and
It should be really good. I mean, even picking Blood 4 Thresh is really good.
yeah.
Taking the Lulu sideway. But Lulu just works well with hyper carries, and Jinx is a hyper carry right now, but I mean, Aphelios is open, so if you want a hyper carry, Aphelios is stronger than Jinx.
I believe
at
that the
this
Jinx
moment in
is a more direct answer into the Tristana, though, because you can actually bully the Tristana out quite well in lane if you just choose to go for the rockets early on. So that could be the potential reason as to why they are electing it, and they will go with that Syndra here. So that will confirm that the Lulu will not go mid, still top lane available for that Lulu, but it looks less and less likely with every pick that they do log in here for themselves, as there might be a potential Jax. Yeah.
Hover.
Yesterday there were some questions raised around the Jax, and it's a blind pick Jax. Do you have anything that you think is really, really insane into the Jax?
I actually don't know. I have no clue about Jax as a champ.
Okay.
Um, I feel like just taking something tanky, right? Something tanky, maybe even a. I'm trying to think of top chaps here, but you know, just something to play slow. Even a Lulu at the end
Wow,
of the day could
Olaf
be good.
into the Trundle. That is certainly surprising, and
You
I
do
mean,
have a Seraphine though, but that was the old meta, right? You went Seraphine mid and you took Olaf jungle and you just roamed around. That was post Gore Drinker nerf.
no.
That's what you did, but
And the Gnar was left open at the start of the draft. They do pick it into the Jax. I think it's a matchup that the Jax can win, but the Gnar obviously has his own tools and looks fantastic in this team fighting composition that NSG Forsaken have drafted for themselves here. So let's once again sort of, as I had a crazy voice crack right there, Lamau.
I didn't hear it. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right. Let's start contrasting these matchups against each other. You said that you're not quite sure of what the Gnar does into the Jax, or what the Jax does into the Gnar, because you don't quite know all the Jax all that well. But talk to me a little bit about Trundle and Olaf, because historically Trundle has been seen as an Olaf counter.
Well, the reason why, I mean, Olaf is a jungle menace, right? Generally, especially start of the season, seeing Olaf in the jungle was like, man, this game's the dodge, right? There's just nothing you can do. Gore Drinker was so strong. I mean, it is strong now again. And Olaf is a champ, you know, lower your health is, faster you attack, pair that with Conquer, pair that with your W, giving you attack speed and healing, and you just go bam, 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 and you just start healing, right?
Yeah.
Then your health goes up. Trundle, what he does, basically the same. Trundle's a stat stick. He doesn't have the low health attack speed. he does have a lot of sustain. He does have his ult. Olaf has the true damage, but I mean, Trundle's just gonna steal his stats. When he has his stats stolen, plus he ults and loses resistances. Yeah, it's level 6 Olaf
Olaf gets
has.
really squishy. Olaf gets
Yeah.
really, really squishy. And yeah, that is something that is definitely that we have to consider as we sort of contrast these picks with each other. And what about the mid lane? Orianna, Syndra, we saw that matchup yesterday played between, I believe, Redemption and Unknown Enemy. And it was the first pentakill that we've seen in SLE so far coming out for the Syndra. Do you think that the Syndra is just like a hard counter to Orianna? I mean, does anything really hard counter Orianna? What do you think about this matchup?
Orianna is one of those champs in mid where you kind of just want to get on top of her, right? Once you get on top of her, you know, Orianna can't really do much besides like, you know, get her shield and pop her ult, right? So like AD assassins mid are usually, or assassins in general, are pretty good against Orianna because, you know, once you get on top of her, you know, she doesn't have anything. Syndra, on the other hand, she can scatter the weak, just push you away. You know, you can't really get on top of her, and she's somewhat of an assassin herself. Not the type that jumps on you, but you know, she does have a lot of one-shot potential.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that assassins are that favorable into Orianna because of the resistances that you gain from having the ball on top of you, because of having a shield for you. So I think the fact that burst mages is what people look for into Orianna is more the case. I mean, historically, Orianna has been a counterpick to the Zeds of the world, to the Kianas, so to the Akalis even. But yeah, I think that what you're saying is that Syndra does her damage very quickly to Orianna and can sort of overwhelm that pick.
And again, I mean, this team comp from 100%, I much prefer the previous one, right? I feel like this one has a lot of mixed ideas of what they actually want to do with the comp, right? You have Tristana, which kind of wants to be going in with an enchanter support, with Seraphine, which is not really a okay, let's engage champ. It's more of a let's stay back and just chill out, right? You have the Orianna, which is a control mage, which kind of want your team to go in, pop your ult, zone them with your ball. The Jax, which is just a split push champ, can jump into team fights, can pop his E, dodge auto attacks, but I mean his tower pushing is just insane. And you have the Olaf, which is running down someone, and that's it.
Well, the problem that I see is that there are so few forms of hard engage for both of these teams. I mean, you have Syndra stun on one side and Seraphine ult on the other, and both of those aren't even very good tools to hard engage. Yes, Syndra's is a bit more reliable, a bit more fast, you have it more often, and Seraphine's can have a lot longer range, and if you line it up, it can be like a very interesting and like uncommon and unusual tool to engage with. But the fact of the matter is that they're both still not reliable, and it's the best tools that these teams have. So these team fights will be very chaotic, I think, if they're even taken at all. Like because if these teams start standing inside of each other, then we have a whole mess going on.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right, but I still think Forsaken just has a much more set draft, right? Like they know what they want to do. They know they have a hyper carry. They know they want to peel it out. They know they want to get a pick with Syndra, and just get excited from Jinx once and just go on
this time the ease of execution is for them?
I wouldn't necessarily. It's ease of execution. You still need to play pretty well macro-wise to get the picks you need. But I feel like it is a much easier draft to execute than last time, and it's a much more. I don't know if coherent is the right word, but it's a much more. The draft has much more identity than 100% draft here. You know what the draft wants to do, and yeah, I don't see the same.
Can you pin that identity more down for me? Like you're saying that they do have that, but like, what is the identity?
Well, basically, I feel like once you have a Syndra, you want to pick, right? You want to get one pick, burst them down with your combo with your ult, preferably the Tristana or Orianna.
Hmm.
You basically put them out of the fight, and what that means is you just have a free hidden Jinx then, right? Especially if the Jinx gets excited from that one kill, Jinx is just gonna be running around and just free hitting because she has a Lulu who's just gonna ult on her, polymorph whoever jumps near her. She's gonna have the Trundle pillar peeling for her, and at the end of the day, you also have the Gnar ult for the engage, right?
Just
If you want to go for a pick on multiple enemies, you can just Gnar ult in. Syndra Q scatter the weak, and there's just so much AoE damage from Jinx rockets. This is a team that wants to fight in the jungle, right?
hmm.
Last time round, they were the ones who wanted to fight in open spaces, and I think now the roles are somewhat reversed. They want to be fighting in jungle while um, the team of 100% wants people to run into them, run into the lanes, and just avoid the jungle as much as they can.
Well, we are going to be loading into game number 2 between 100% and NSG Forsaken. So far, we have a 1-0 lead here for the side of NSG Forsaken as they do manage to secure their first win. As I should show that. Oh no, it is showing. Okay. Now both of these.
But yeah, anyway, I'm interested to see what the junglers are gonna do here. Olaf, I think, will be opting for a bot side start. I don't know if I don't think Trundle wants to meet Olaf at first cuddle. Trundle is generally a champ you don't want to fight for first cuddle with the current meta junglers. I think he only wins into Xin in that level 1 fight, and maybe Viego. I think Lee and Olaf both win at that level 3, level 4 fight, but everything after is just sided for Olaf. So I mean for Trundle, sorry. So I feel like if the Trundle just pass opposite sides and plays for bot side here, leaving top for weak side, I think the game should be quite, smooth sailing that from that point on.
Hmm. Well, we don't see that anyone actually finds a ward here. I mean, the Olaf did recall to pick up an early sweeper, but they don't spot out any vision being placed down, so they can't give that XP over that we had talked about a couple times before on the broadcast, as that Seraphine spam is really annoying.
Yeah.
Now we do see an Aerie finally on an Orianna. I think this is definitely the correct choice into Syndra. Gives her so much more safety. Don't really need the phase rush in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And,
Also, you don't have the people jumping on you, right? You don't have a Leona. You're not playing into a Lee, right? You don't. There's no need for a phase rush there, as Luchesco already gets hit by the double E there. But just a small trade on bot lane. Nar missing, not catching his Q though. So that's a pretty big trade in the favor of Jax.
I don't know
Nar
how
blocking his.
big that advantage really is, because he
Oh,
does
and
manage to get
yeah,
2 grass procs. The biggest trade advantage that we do see is in mid lane, in that Orianna Syndra matchup we had been mentioning a couple of times already, as already and yet another Q hits here for the side of Parker, who has been set up in draft once again to maybe knock down the pins that are the players on the side of 100%. And he finds a
this could be
stun, and
just
this
a
could be
kill.
a potential solo kill, as the Corrupting Potion does mean that the Syndra does not quite find the kill onto Orianna. A massive damage already coming out here. And this is why the Syndra is so good into Orianna, because you can space so effectively against what Orianna is trying to do and deter her from the shenanigans that come with her own orb. Peter finding yet another WE here onto Luchesco, as both junglers are sitting down towards the bot side. But Evenson is first in that mid lane. So even though another Q here connects for the side of Parquet, he is in a lot of danger. And it is actually the first blood being picked up before Orianna gives the assist over to the Olaf as well.
Trade the kill though.
He does trade the kill, but gold certainly in favor here of Sinner. And I think if we take a look at the wave state in mid lane, he doesn't actually
It's
choose
pushing.
to TP to it. Neither mid laner
Yeah,
does.
it's gonna be frozen. Like, I think Syndra TP there would have been really good, but the wave is
This
pushing
is
into
not
Rihanna.
freezing. This is not. This is going to be a slow push in just a wave of time. And as in the meantime, we actually see a fight in the jungle here, as Evanson does already go down to Arvid here, who once again finds the better of that advantage. And having the quicker bot lane to roam up to him means that they do find a kill in the river here. So a second kill going over to the side of NSG Forsaken.
So yeah, Forsaken this time around also having the much earlier team comp, right? They don't have the Rice Senna, which is purely late game scaling, right? So they have the Jinx, who again needs a few items to be proper good, but they also have the Syndra, which deals a lot of damage early on. And I mean, you see there one small combo already taking a fifth of Orianna's health away. It just 4 more times, and the Orianna's just gonna be dead.
Oh, but the Orianna does have a tier and some boots, so is certainly more able to avoid some of the spheres that the Syndra is throwing at her. And I think that can go a long way inside these lanes. Another E here connecting from the side of me, Peter, onto both of the members of that NSG Forsaken bot lane. As here is what I was talking about, the boots making a big difference. Just to continually avoid some of the things that the Syndra is throwing at you. Me, Peter flashing forward for a solo kill here. Wow, wow, wow. Me, Peter not taking any of the stuff that has been thrown at him in terms of criticism from that last game, and finds himself a solo kill after landing double E after double E. More stuns here from the side of Paquet, but he does have pretty low mana bar and is starting to run lower and lower, and Sinner is still looking good in terms of both HP and mana, and finding himself a small advantage now in that mid lane in those trades so far. Now, the solo kill will eventually mean that they do go collect themselves the first dragon of the game.
Yeah, and it's an Ocean Drake. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. Ocean Drakes are pretty good. Gives them that early sustain that they need. It's just a small bit of healing, but Orianna looking for a kill here in mid lane. Syndra doesn't have flash.
Does not have the flash on the Syndra, as Me Peter is just caught out in the river because they do interrupt the recalls continually, and the overconfidence coming out from Me Peter after having already burnt his flash. Arvid also finds himself that Raptor. Certainly happy about that one. But yeah, the overconfidence from Me Peter biting him in the back after recalling so cockily 3 times in a row. And Nishiko finds himself some nice trades, but the wave pushing into Nar here is quite big.
Yeah, Trundle could be looking for something to upside here, but he is looking for bot, and they are trying to catch
ward,
the
though.
Seraphine on a ward.
There is a very nice double E here from the side of Seraphine, who roots both of them up and does a lot of damage already, as already completing that mirror in her inventory means that she has a lot more sustain even in terms of just ability casts.
Yeah, Luchescu also so far in the tournament not really playing Enchanter supports. Played Taric last game, entry tournament, his Leona was really clean. And now playing the Enchanter, and yeah, I don't know if he's as comfortable playing Enchanters, considering he's also not really a support player and he plays other lanes. So Enchanter is not really what you generally play, right? So you can see that it's not really there with the because he's used to engaging, he's used to going in. This time around, he needs to play back and just shield and just slowly peel for the Jinx. And there, Jinx reset, so he kind of just stayed in lane, not really knowing what to do. Maybe going for a roam mid there could have been much better, much more better time utilization as well, right?
Well, you are levying a lot of criticism at the man, but you have to say that last time around they did run into a lot more issues in that bot lane in Taric and Senna.
Yeah, that's also true.
This time around, we see more trades in mid lane, and the Scatter the Weak will mean that the kill will be secured here for the side of Paquet, who finds himself another solo kill. Actually, the second one of the game already here for him.
Yeah, I think Luchescu playing even last game with his ults, saving the team.
But this time around he does get caught out, but yet another double E here from the side of Me Peter. I don't know if it's the comfort on his own enchanters or if it's about playing against some of these enchanters that is providing some of the issues. They have, however, had that first roam which did secure them the dragon, not the dragon, but rather the kill onto the Olaf early on into the game. So not everything going totally out of their favor here. As
but
Nishiko keeps shoving it, look how big this wave is. Once again, that Nishiko is shoving into the Gnar, and he's already up this amount of CS.
Yeah. And also, what's it called? Last game, the bot lane of Forsaken was behind early game. This time round, Jinx actually has a slight
2v2 set up here in the top lane as the pillar already comes down. He does not have the Counter-Strike available anymore, and so both teams not favoring that fight. While the Rift Herald was started up, Sinner does have priority on that mid lane for now, as Paquet finally No, not quite managing to free himself up here. He chooses to elect to go for mid lane priority first, as the rest of his team is potentially looking to trade around that Rift Herald. No ultimate available as well for the Syndra means that this does look like a bit of a risky play, as all of the other ultimates are available. Counter-Strike goes wide. Now that puts him in a little bit of a precarious situation, but the Shockwave does connect onto effort, and so the flash forward from Michiko means that he's about to secure the kill. Sinner does do so in the end. Here comes the Subjugate from the Trundle onto the Jax, who's stealing a lot of stats, especially with the activation of the Jax ultimate. Then flashes away from the Olaf, who just about not secures himself the Rift Herald, and now the Syndra ultimate is also back available. So already coming out here, the Scout of the Week also landing onto the Orianna here, and now in a very precarious situation is Sinner, who gets attacked by yet another of these Darkshires. Well? And the bot lane as well, there is a big trade here onto the side of Yupea, who just about stays alive.
But I feel like that's just deja vu. That's the third time in this series that Arvid gets out of a fight with the sliver of HP left. I don't know. That's just. I mean, you know, first time you can maybe say lucky. Second time, third time, the man just has insane health management.
He certainly knows his limits, right? I know that there are a lot of people that test limits in solo queue. Arvid certainly seems to be one of those, and one of the more successful ones, as so far in the tournament he certainly looked very good in these scenarios. Now they do find themselves the Rift Herald as well, as the Eye is finally picked up. Almost missing that out on that one. The Gnar is here in the mid lane now, standing opposed to Nishiko on that Jax, who's also made his way, and this time around they do find the first push. TP not available for the side of Parkia means that they do have first move onto the dragon here. Tempo advantage from the side of 100%, as now Luchescu is face checking this, gets slowed up by the Seraphine. They're liking the fight here, but the dragon already going over in favor of 100%. Now effort is being aggressed on by Nishiko and the Shockwave, so once again falls as the first casualty of the fight. Ragnarok does run out, and so the pillar will knock him into the wall here, but the Jinx W and pillar are not quite good enough to actually save that fight here for the side of NSG Forsaken, and now their health bars are dropping lower and lower. Yupea getting the first passive activation, but everyone else on the side of NSG Forsaken is just slowly falling and falling, and it's hard to contain any sort of excitement in that fight because it just looked like their health bars universally dropped. Nothing big, nothing major really occurring other than them just trying to fight a 5v4 when they really shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think at that point there's no reason for you to really chase the enemies down, right? You already lost a Gnar. Gnar had no Mega. There's no objective on bot side to play for, right? So there's no really reason to go for it. I think you can just back off, reset, go collect the waves. The plates are still up, and try to look for a play on one side of the map, but not there, not in the 4v5.
Certainly a strange fight, and from a position where NSG Forsaken had looked so good in, making a huge error here, losing 5 players, and thus tying up the gold lead basically back to even, and already down 2 dragons. There will be a Rift Herald placed in mid lane. I do like that a lot, because giving more gold to Parker here, who does collect 0 of those turret plates, man, why? That's such a waste. It's so sad to see.
Yeah. We did mention though before, after game 1, we did say that, you know, Forsaken is weak in these early game fights. They're taking the fights they really don't have to be taking, as Trundle's looking for a gank here on bot lane, but I think they will have to back.
Seraphine ult, 3-man Seraphine ult, and the TP behind them as well. Now Parker being the 4th man to the play means that Sinner also comes in with the TP here. The Jinx W does go wide as the Counter Strike. Oh, a huge shockwave here up towards the top side, but Sinner just about managing to build space for his team here, as 5 players for the side of NSG Forsaken find themselves down towards the bot side, but the 4 of 100% still coming out on top yet again.
Again, this is what I was just talking as Olaf is getting caught out
here, as that is a huge overstay here, and one that I'm not quite sure why that was the case, why Evanson was so greedy for the turret plates, maybe even taking potential gold away. Nah, not really. There was just no need, as they do find the turret here down towards the bot side. First turret, and all of those turret plates as well. So they do certainly like that gold. Sinner also coming back into the game with with a statement shockwave here. We've not seen many good shockwaves in SLE so far, but that one certainly being huge.
Yeah. Also, we already seeing some items completed. A Moonstone on Seraphine. Moonstone not being one of the greatest items in the game right now. I still personally think if you play any Enchanter, Shorelia is just the way to go. The item is really, really good, and especially now we have a Jax Olaf in your team. So I think Shorelia would be really good here. Orianna on mid lane, not yet completing the item. Tristana also not really there, but we see Olaf completing the Stride Breaker, opting that over the Gore Drinker, and Jax on top already getting his Divine Thunder.
Yeah, two Divine Thunders up towards the top side. Sinner finds himself behind UPO, does have the Shockwave available, and so finds a potential solo kill easy as they come. Sits in the bush for just a extended period of time, and UPO is just not respecting it.
But again, I got interrupted so many times already. We talked about, early game fights from Forsaken being their weak point. And I think, again, this game, both the fights they've lost so far has just been from oversteps on their side because they're taking really unnecessary fights early on. And that is what's allowing to 100% to get back in the game because they were
The
behind at the start of the
subjugate
game. And on
comes
top
out
lane,
onto
all
the
of
Olaf here as Jax is just way
boom.
too late and Parquet does an immense amount of damage. Arvid liking the fight, still flashing over after the Jax. For no real reason, the Counter-Strike was still available, so they do trade flashes in the end, as the Dragon is up in just 20 seconds here. Now, Jiyoung and Meatpeter are on the wrong side of the rift here, as this 4-man squad of NSG Forsaken are slowly approaching them. Pillar interrupts the rocket jump, but in the wrong direction, sadly. So the movement speed coming out from Meatpeter is just not enough. He does land a nice 3-man Seraphine ult, but there is absolutely nothing to follow it up on. And Jiyoung is in real deep stuff here, as he does get spotted out by the vision plant. Jinx Zap also connecting. How will they try to interrupt this Tristana? She does jump over into the base and is now just looking to collect some of the waves, while the rest of her team are postured around the dragon. Not all of them. Luchescu flashes forward to secure the kill, and the help of the Jinx also being there means that that does go over in favor of them. Now sitting at now finding themselves in once again an advantage where we were saying that they weren't necessarily finding them at the early stages of the game because of those oversteps. This time around coming out from the side of 100%.
The Jinx still being a bit behind the goal from the Tristana. Tristana completing her Kraken Slayer now. Jinx yet to buy it. I think Jinx is gonna go for the Kraken as well. I think Gale Force would be a good option here. Um, but yeah, the game as it is now. I mean, two Drakes on 100%, but Forsaken getting their first Drake here. Herald being up, 100% already moving there. But they have no vision on the map. I mean, it's only around bot side, right? Bot bush on Drake and control board there. Jax placing a vision by red buff there. So 100% setting up their vision really slowly here for this Herald.
Well, now Arvid is trying to start up that team fight as the parallel is already placed down. Seraphine ultimate not quite off cooldown means that one of the biggest tools for them to actually find these team fight wins is just moments away from actually being available here. More vision placed down around the Herald, and the stun does not quite connect here onto the Meat Eater here as Arvid is, the Herald is dropping lower and lower. Who will win the smite fight? Jiyoung coming over the wall to rejoice with his team. Meanwhile, Loris and Sinner are 1v1ing up towards the top side, finds the Mega activation and finds a Mega into the wall, but a Shockwave coming out to try to protect. Sinner already managing to secure himself the first kill, or his team rather, the first kill of the fight. Rift Herald did go over, and the Seraphine ultimate will finish off Parquet here in the end. That was at least entertaining to look at. Jiyoung having burned both summoners as well into that fight, as Nishiko is still liking the fight. Nice pillar though to dissipate
Jinx
some
on the
of that.
back though.
Jinx on the back indeed, but the exhaust will mean that Meatpeter sets up for Jiyoung to jump over the wall here. Luchescu trying to offer protection, but it's just not enough, and now Luchescu also caught out of position. So even though the hero does go over to the side of NSG Forsaken, once again these extended team fights where NSG Forsaken gets too comfortable go in the favor of 100%.
Yeah, I mean, the Jinx looking for a flank there on the Seraphine and just overextending. They lost their Gnar, who had a really big engage. The Orianna Shockwave only hit Trundle, but it was just not enough to to get the Jinx excited, that's all they need one passive proc from Jinx, and the fight should be over for their side. But they're just struggling to get the first pick. And I think that is why the fights are going into 100%'s favor, right? If they manage to get the one pick, start of the fight, Jinx will pop off.
Yeah, these
I
blinking
think that
HP bars basically consistently just managing to stay alive. We complimented Arvid for his ability to stay alive in these exact situations. So using Herald for a tier 1, certainly a strange decision here. They do get that damage down, but like the turret still has half its HP, and the tier 2 turrets contain so much gold, but yeah, very questionable here from the side of NSG Forsaken as they look shakier and shakier in these later stages of the game. First game was really close as well, of course, and then later on they found themselves the advantages that they needed in order to secure the game. How would the side of NSG Forsaken try to find their advantages this game?
I mean, the whole idea still stands, right? You just need a pick. That's all it is. I feel like 100% is a bit weak on the rotation side. And I feel like if Forsaken plays well with Vision, I feel like that is their way in. As it is now, they're losing team fights, but if they go into a team fight 5v4, they're bound to win it. 5v5, not so much at this point in the game. They're a bit far behind, except for the Trundle and the Syndra, but the Trundle is not the person you want to be in front.
Huge stun here from
getting
Paquet as the
Oh,
Unleashed Power is not quite enough to finish off Mepeater, and Yupea's Jinx Rocket being way too late, so the coordination lacking. Paquet really trying his little heart and soul out to set up for his team, finds a beautiful 3-man stun, but Yupea is just not on the same page here. And
As,
now the
100%.
Baron has started up at 20 minutes and 50 seconds because all of the resets coming out from the side of NSG Forsaken. Trundle and Lulu are around the Baron and do place 2 wards in this pit here. Loris does have about a fourth of a Narbar as that is dissipating in base, but he does have the TP available. And Sinner finds an execution with that shockwave onto the Lulu here. Both of the smites being available as Arvid is looking to flash over the wall. Olaf is actually so low that he has to smite the Baron, and that means that Arvid will secure himself the kill and the Baron in the end. Dances at the end of the fight, but they find the Baron steal here.
And this is also one of the ways.
Mega Gnar over the wall here. This is danger mode as it's a huge Gnar into the wall onto the both of the important members here for the side of 100%. Now Yupea once again didn't find anything in that team fight and just can't quite catch up. Really looking absolutely lackluster on that Jinx so far this game. Bot lane for NSG Forsaken struggling, but the top side of the map is trying to make up for the weaknesses so far.
I mean, that is one way to get back in the game, right? Just let the enemies leash the Baron for you.
Yeah, I mean, no one was tanky for Evenson, so you had to smite it to even stay alive. And Arvid exploiting that opportunity, finding both the Baron and the kill in the end, makes him look, once again, a little bit foolish. But yeah, I think the Jinx has to find more leads if the NSG Forsaken really want to hammer that game home. We did mention that this is a bit of a turn in favor of Forsaken, but so far they're still down on gold. Let's see if the Baron power play, sadly we do not have an exact count.
With the Tristana being caught out on top
find
here.
the Tristana caught here. Luchesco does speed them up.
Orianna's coming as well. If Orianna comes, they don't win
There's a
this.
huge amount of damage onto Luchesco already. Finds a solo kill already, Jiyoung does. And so that will be a 2-for-1 for the side of 100%. As once again, this bot lane with a pivotal mistake.
Yeah, and losing out 2 of the 4 Barons that they had on their team. The only Barons left are on the Gnar and Syndra now. So, yeah, the even less side lane potential now. They could have played 1-3-1. It's not easy to execute, but you have Barons on people that can side lane and people that can play on mid. And you could push the waves and get gold. Syndra getting a really good chunk there. But Syndra getting caught out on top here.
Again, looking at a very similar play as to the one beforehand. The Shockwave still available, but the Subjugate means that he's tanky enough to just finish off that kill securely. And so a huge shutdown. But once again, someone is here to try to answer the play. Luchesco trying to protect his top lane as the Jinx Rocket is nicely timed. So it will be a 2-for-1 here. This time around for the side of NSG Forsaken as... My god, these teams looked so good at the first game, making very clean moves, going head to head, and yes, it's close this time around as well, but mistake after mistake after
Oh,
mistake.
they just barely
Parker
didn't hit.
flashing away from the Seraphine, and the support from his team comes out just about in time. Hipea not actually managing to deal the damage to finish anyone off, but Luchesco does secure his mid laner's life.
This game, 24 minutes in, second game in a row, and the game is even in gold. I feel like it was the same way last game. These two teams really battling it out.
I
Like,
mean, yeah, it was close as well last game, but this time around, it's just sloppy play from everyone. I was expecting so much more. I think Parker being sort of the shining light here together with Arvid on the side of NSG Forsaken. And really good stuff coming out from jungle and the bot lane here on the side of 100%. As these two mid laners certainly look like they're very, very high tier. As I
oh,
say
and the
that,
Jinx
it's
getting caught
what
out. And I
this
think
is the second or the third solo kill that Upea just gets murdered by Sinner. They do find a kill onto Evanson, who has not looked very good on the Olaf, as well as the Volibear. Arvid trying to potentially pillar the Peter here, as the Unleashed Power is available and
what a
will be
scattered weekend.
utilized onto the Peter here. So they find yet another kill. It's gold is dead even. Dragons dead even. Kills dead even. As even though all of this is dead even, Tristana might even be dead. As I say that, there's a nice little rocket that is going to be utilized to stall out for some more time, but Jiang is on the wrong side of Arvid here. And Arvid is just approaching him slowly, maybe with a bit more pace this time around.
Okay,
Finds
alright.
that kill in the end. I mean, Meganar has, what, 40 seconds cooldown?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're right. It just feels generally weird to see an old bopped on a wolf camp.
True, true. Actually, Evanson does have the smite up, but does not actually find the blue buff here. So it does go over to the side of Loris.
He does have the smite up, but you don't have vision. You don't know where the enemy team is. You
We
don't know
saw
if the
Arvid
Trundle's
top
there
lane.
with him.
You saw Syndra mid lane. You saw that Jinx died. I think you knew where everyone was.
Yeah, but you saw Trundle top lane around 30 seconds ago.
I think that was definitely. I mean, he just walked up. He literally even walked up to the buff. He just didn't press the smite. So
Maybe it was just a generous donation. Who knows?
true, true. As both of these teams have been extremely generous. I mean, we're sitting at 39 kills at 26 minutes. 39 kills at 26 minutes, and there has been nothing that has been hugely exciting so far. These teams just like make mistake after mistake, and I would just like
Neither
to see
team
me.
can capitalize on the mistake because the moment one person gets caught out in a mistake, the same team that gets the pick makes a
Yeah.
mistake of their own, and they always trade evenly. Hence why the kills are even and the gold is even. But here, NSF could look for a potential fight. The Oriana getting
Well, the
chucked, and Nar's gonna
Oriana
go
gets
in with the
Gnar
Mega.
ulted here into the wall, and the Parkerverte does secure that in the end. Arvid having a great time in his mid lane as he does spam the dance emote. As the silliness of the game is certainly not going past the troll player. Now the dragon is started up. This is the setup for either team's third dragon. Jion
Oh,
does
and what
like
a
the
jump.
fight, and Upea just gets caught again! What are you doing? But this time around, Effort is here to actually try to clean up the play. But this is just unacceptable. This is a absolutely awful performance here from the AD carry. Yes, they managed to punish the enemies in the end, and the dragon does go over in their favor. But this is just horrible, horrible gameplay.
It's just one too many mistakes. Jinx is an ADC. It is a hyper carry ADC. It falls in the same bracket as Kog'Maw, as Aphelios, and those kind of champs, where basically you generally want a lot of peel on yourself, and you need to have really good positioning in team fights. And I just think that positioning is not coming in. Maybe I don't know how the mental is, but a lot of the times the Jinx got caught out by herself in a solo lane.
Yeah.
And that is not where you want to be with Jinx.
No. No, it really isn't. And I'm, of course, being very hard on this player as his team around him is doing pretty well. We mentioned that Luchesco was looking pretty shaky at the early start of the laning phase. Has really sort of caught himself. and is supporting his team quite nicely so far in the mid game here. As Mepeter is under a lot of scrutiny here, does have the shielding available from the Orianna and himself, of course. As the Thunder Pillar does find Nishiko here, but he does have the Counter-Strike to stay safe momentarily.
R has no Mega now, so this is the time 100% could potentially look for a fight. They have their ults up, but
Pakevechta still being in base, as Arvid is slowly walking forward here, trying to secure some vision control. He does have the TP, the Syndra does. And they're just posturing around, they're dancing. But so far, no one has put on their blue suede shoes, as the blue sways over to the side of the red team. And Arvid's still poking around the side. They're just dancing around each other. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but Pakevechta is very sure. A huge shockwave from Sinner to actually find some sort of leverage onto the side of Energy Forsaken, as Arvid is dropping lower and lower. Jiyoung already finding the kill on him, as more kills go over on the backline for Yupea here, but the Counter-Strike is not enough to block out the Jinx Rocket, and so there is just a huge back and forth going on between these two teams, as for some reason Syndra looks like there's been very low FPS on her. Jiyoung jumping over the wall here with the blast cone. Yupea caught out. Nice rocket last time around, and the zap will secure his life. So he probably heard our criticism, but this is... I don't even know, man. What is going on?
This game still is just something else completely.
Oh my god.
Syndra is just melting. Park here? Yeah, that's... Yeah, I think I pronounced it right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher the name. Rengo's saying it's a Dutch name, so yeah, it's just a butcher for me. But yeah, he is doing some work on the Syndra again this game, and was doing work on Ryze last game. And definitely is one of the big reasons why NSF is in a spot they are right now with a 3k gold lead.
Yeah.
And I think that lead is... wait, they're actually almost even with Orianna.
Yeah, I mean, you saw how great these shockwaves have been from Sinna so far, right? Finding huge opportunities, finding solo kills in side lanes. And I think these two players are really, really demonstrating their abilities. I know you were really hyped about watching Pakevechta play again today, and I was really hyped about watching Sinner play again today. And I think the head-to-head between them has been more than just enjoyable to watch, as Mepeter is not going to get one-shot just yet, but a huge Seraphine ultimate. They all lined up beautifully, and now Jiyoung could potentially clean up. Sinner not even being fully in the fight, but Jiyoung gets taken down by Pakea. That is indeed true, as Loris and Pakea are cleaning the fight up from the backline. Luchesco is meanwhile being chased here by Orianna and Olaf, and here are the two stars of the fight so far, the two stars of the show. And the one star of SLE is Sinner today, because he finds an unbelievable shockwave to secure those 3 kills. Flashes forward, just have the stopwatch available. He will go down to Arvid as he has the shield. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Break that one down.
I am just speechless. Yo, clip it. What? This is just going both ways. Like, I don't know what to say this game.
This is just mental. It feels like these players are all playing chess. Or are all playing checkers, while Pakevechta and Sinner are just playing chess. So these two are really demonstrating the carry potential that they have available for their team. And I think in the end that was a 4-for-5?
Yeah, it was only Trundle survived that fight. Arvid getting out, you know?
The classic story.
Yeah. And Forsaken actually picking up the soul.
The dragons. So after 4 consecutive Cloud Dragons, this is just a clown dragon game.
Yeah. You know how much I like Cloud Dragons. It is my favorite dragon in the game, so...
True. And it's actually really good for the Syndra, right?
Syndra, yeah. Exactly.
She probably gets 2 ultimates in a team fight, if it's a longer team fight. Let's see. The Syndra ult cooldown
42 second cooldown right now.
42 seconds cooldown. Oh my score. I mean, probably not quite two,
Oh,
but if more CDR is built up here, potentially something. And potentially something also happening around the available Baron buff. It's sitting pretty on the map right now. Top lane priority secured for the side of NSG Forsaken, as 100% chooses to stick as a 5-man death ball composition, which does make a lot of sense when playing with the Seraphine, when having the Moonstone, right? That is sort of what Seraphine thrives in, that what she wants to play for. As Arvid once again poking his head in here in the side of 100%'s jungle to secure some vision control. Oh, big damage coming out on Evanson and Nishiko. But they do have the Seraphine healing, right? If it's not a full one-shot, then they do have the Seraphine. Now they are starting up the Baron, and Nikita not getting one-shot though. Yes, they do land the scatter as a terrible Seraphine ult, terrible Gnar ult, as everything is just going wide. Olaf dropping as the first casualty of the fight, then Jax, Lulu, and Orianna surely follow, and this is just going all NSG this time around. Everyone missing their ultimates, except of course the Jinx Rocket actually connecting and managing to secure themselves that final kill. And they're looking for the end here. Still 20 seconds on the most recent member, or the quickest member to come up here. Do you think they're gonna end here?
I think this is an end angle. You have a lot of damage from the Jinx. Syndra is gonna deal a lot of damage to the towers as well. This is just going to be, I think this is game here.
No, 10 seconds on Seraphine, 10 seconds on Olaf, 10 seconds on Jax, but Yupea deals a crap ton of damage to these turrets, and so they will find themselves yet another 2-0 here. Division 1 also following all of the trends that we have seen so far in the tournament. And yeah, congratulations to NSG Forsaken after probably one of the craziest games that we've seen so far in SLE.
Yeah, I mean, I am glad I asked you at 5 in the morning, yo, FMA, I want to cast this game. I am just glad I did that because this series was a banger series. Game 1 was, um, it was just two really good teams going at each other, both teams making minor mistakes, and I think the better team coming out on top game 1, but then game 2, it was just all cards on the table. It's just everything. Game 2 was just a bloodbath, and as a player, it might have been frustrating, but as a caster, I definitely enjoyed watching all of that, especially that fight towards the end.
Oh my god, yeah, indeed. I think some of the most insane mechanics that we've seen so far, maybe out of any game, and some of the most insane blunders that we've seen so far out of any game. I think we're going to have an interview ready momentarily with Arvid. If you would like to jump into the waiting room, while we just try to sort of maybe calm down a little bit after that craze of a game. We don't have much more time to wait as Arvid is joining us. Welcome, welcome, Arvid. Congratulations on the 2-0. And it was a bit of a fiesta that second game, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I definitely agree with that. But you know, we're just so much better than everyone else, so we just win.
I mean, there was some really crazy stuff coming out from both mid laners, and then I think that you probably win the award for most dances spammed inside a single game.
Yes.
So yeah, talk to me a little bit through. Let's talk about the first game first, right? The draft going heavily in favor from the side of Sanix, right? He thought that you outdrafted the enemies hard. What was sort of the idea of picking up the Senna Tarek?
So, basically, like we just have the best Senna. We just have the best Senna in Div 1 in UP. Yeah? Like he's just really smurfing at it, and you know we have the man himself, Luchescu, who just wants to play everything except for Trundle support, I guess. But he picks Tarek. Tarek is fucking broken against what they were doing. Like they had, I don't remember. But yeah, they just have a bunch of dive, no goddamn range at all. So we're just like, yeah, just pick Tarek and we're just gonna win the game. And because their enemy jungler is like a low elo stomper, you know, only plays fucking tank supports. So we're just so I just like picked Trundle, even though I don't want to be on Trundle due to all the splays. Like it's just a broken jungler. It's just such a broken jungler.
Well,
But
you
then it's
did
just
make it look unbelievably broken. And then in the game one, I don't know if you remember, but the Wukong didn't have flash. And in
yes.
game, I think you saw that, or to me, it looked like you saw that. You were like, did someone say free ganks? And so he ganked him like, what, 18 times or something?
Yeah, I mean, like like it was a discussion we did before the game even started. We're just like, this guy's playing Ignite. He's so cocky. Like he thinks he can carry the game as Wukong. And he thinks his W is enough. And I'm like, no,
He doesn't.
you're gonna die. I'm playing Trundle. We have a non-prio bot lane. You are gonna get ganked. You stupid boy.
Well, Sonics, do you have any questions maybe about the second game?
I mean, second game was, first game you guys played it pretty well, right? You had coordination, all of that, but second game it just felt all over the place. You guys were, both teams were just making mistakes left and right, getting picks left and right. So how was that a bit ambience wise? Were you guys like a bit, frustrated, or was it just like, okay, we're just kind of inting it?
Yeah. It's basically that we just said like, okay, guys, we're trolling so so much. We're trolling so goddamn much, and we're like, it's fine because all those ints amounted to nothing, nada. I steal the Baron because I'm just so much better as a jungler. So I just steal that Baron. I even trolled my smite and I still get it because I'm just that good.
Mm-hmm.
And you see me do a lot of those dances, because I'm Trundle, man. I'm so tanky. I'm Trundle. I have a little midget Lulu behind me who's gonna protect me.
Well,
And it's the mental fortitude with the dancing, by the way.
Well, you did break their mental. I think the most mental broken player did look like it was your AD carry. That man did not like he had a good time. But the man in the mid lane, Parquet Wächter, once again with standout performances in both games. It was pretty crazy. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on,
He's just
Arvid.
so much better than everyone else. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so much for
thank you.
coming on, talking to us. It's been a pleasure to watch you guys. And we'll see you again. Bye bye. Alrighty. Maybe some language coaching next time around. But thanks so much for the interviews. Thank you so much as well, Sanix, for coming on, casting this
Yeah,
insane game with.
yeah, it was a very good series.
Yeah, so I think we will be jumping into. Okay, well, thank you so much for now. I will be having a quick break here while we get the second series of the day ready. Um, we'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Thank you, Sanix. Any last words?
I mean, I just hope that the next game you cast is going to be a banger as well. So that's all for me.
Well, thank you, and I'll see you guys in just a few moments here. Until then. No big fluffing around this time, as we're already deep, deep, deep into the draft of NSG Ruin Nation and Crown of the Ruin King. With me, I have right now to bring to you this game, Jonas. Jonas, how we doing? How we feeling?
We're doing alright. I mean, we just had an amazing game from the side of. I forgot the teams already, but
It was Forsaken up against 100%.
that's right. That's correct. I mean, an amazing game, good game. Now we're gonna head into the game with NRN and CRK.
Yeah,
And I heard from the admins that the side of CRK are up 1-0.
yeah.
There was some problem with setting up lineup or something like that from the side of NRN.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is game 2 of the match. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we are just. We have a completed draft. Let's talk
Yeah,
about the draft here. Um,
to be honest, just like looking a bit at it, I don't really like what I'm seeing. We have a Nunu
mm-hmm.
and a Lux.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what's going on there. The side of NRN is a bit more like acceptable. The only thing that is a bit weird to me is the Echo Jungle.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, I think it's perfectly fine. You have
Echo's been
the kind
buffed a
of
lot, though. Like, a lot, a
yeah,
lot.
he is, and he's getting buffed next patch on the jungle. I'm pretty sure it is.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was. Yeah, it's next patch. There's no way it's the last patch. But from the side of NRN, you have this like poke com, you have the Ezreal, the Zoe, and then you have the flank from the Echo and the pure frontline with the set and the disengage from Thresh as well. So well-rounded comp. Um, Side of CRK, I'm not really sure. You have some long range, I guess, with the Lux, Jinx, some backline, or some hard engage with the Nunu Snowball. Uh, I'm not sure what Nunu and Lux does there, but I mean we'll see how it goes, and once we get in game.
Well, I mean, do you remember what Crown of the Ruin King's sort of identity has been a lot of the time?
Actually, I'm not sure.
It's that they play around their AD carry. They're always playing protect their AD carry so that he can pop off, having some really amazing performances even in some of their losses. Um, and so this is very coherent with what we're seeing here. And for example, there was a Zac that they played in the last game where they did actually manage to pick themselves up a win.
Was
So
it
this,
CRK that played the Israel with the Jarvan, the Shen, and the Galio
yes,
and Morgana
yeah,
or something on?
they did play against
Okay.
Forsaken, I think, or Momentum. I think it
Yeah.
was Momentum. Yes, because
Yeah.
Zynox was just diving him down with the
Exactly. It was
Silas. Yeah.
against Thunder.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, still in that game they looked still pretty good. Um, but now we have obviously two very different compositional ideas here from both of these teams, and I think that CRK once again have set themselves up to play protect the AD carry. Once again, having the Shen ult for the AD carry, having the peel from the Morgana, and even the Lulu, the Lux rather, being able to set up for that Jinx. The oddball out is of course the Nunu. What can you tell me about Nunu?
I mean, Nunu is a very good solo queue pick,
Hmm.
but in terms of competitive, he's not really that good since you really want to just like look for these cheese gangs. It's kind of like Shago, you want to go with these cheese gangs, which you can't really get in the competitive environment since it's a lot more coordinated
Hmm.
and you track the enemy jungler, so you will basically always know where the Nunu is. But I mean, there's especially if you have the bot side control, there is a lot of ganks you can do actually that will um like surprise the enemy. For example, if you have the bot lane scuttle, you can start on the bot lane, so you start with the movement speed of the bot scuttle. Your W will run even faster, which a lot of people get surprised by. And if you don't get that like deep river ward from the side of NRN, then there could be some bot lane ganks since you wanna ward far away into the river
Hmm.
against the Nunu, so you can actually spot out the W before he is already up in your face.
And then sometimes you have the ability to stop the Nunu, but the Black Shield being available makes that sometimes a little bit more tricky because you can actually go through things like the Thresh
Yeah.
Flare, the Thresh Hook, maybe Zoe Bubble that finds you mid charge. So that could certainly be a way that they do find those wins. What do you think about the Zoe versus Lux mid lane matchup? I know that you're a big mid lane player, high elo and all
I
that good
mean,
stuff.
Uh, to be honest, I'm not really sure how it goes, but I could imagine it's mainly just not really that much of kill pressure lane. Since you're both range, you both have this wave clear. I think
Hmm.
Zoe gets to push early game probably, but just because of how Zoe works, you always have these long range Q that basically one shot the caster minions on every wave.
Mm.
But Lux also got amazing wave clear with the E and then the passive that you can auto attack proc with. So I think it's mainly just gonna be a fight for prio instead of a fight for killing the enemy.
I would
Um,
expect the Lux having an easier time going for Prio and the Zoe having an easier time going for killing, right? That is
yeah.
sort of the dynamic of that matchup, I think, in a lot of cases. And I think that if the Zoe manages to free herself from that mid lane, then she could actually do some potential damage around the map. Because I think that
Hmm.
this is probably the first Zoe of the tournament, but I think that Zoe, like good Zoes, are so fun to watch because I don't know,
Yeah.
like
Randomly they just hit an E across the map and then they go with the Q. and they do ulti flash, and then they one-shot someone from 500 meters away.
I mean, you hate to see it when it's against you, but like in a competitive sense, when they start picking up all the summoners that are on the ground, when they space so well, so beautifully, it can actually be a thing of beauty. Now, you said that you're not sure about the Echo, right? I think that the Echo buffs have been absolutely massive. Like, he does, with his passive, instead of doing 250% extra damage against big monsters, non-epic monsters rather, he does 300. So the thing that they took away from Diana, they gave to Echo, which is an interesting sort of contrast, because they're very similar. Like, in their ideologies, I guess they are very similar champions.
Yeah, I mean they're both assassins. They both when they're in the jungle meta, they're both really OP.
3-hit passives. Long range Q with a slow component.
Yeah.
They have
and
the
Echo
ability to go
also
in. Yeah.
always got the get out of jail free card with his ulti. He can one back 4 seconds of time. So
And obviously
I mean,
huge AoE damage and utility, which is not something that is usually paired together. So I think that those junglers are similar in theme, and I do like to see the return of Echo. I am personally an Echo enjoyer.
I just think he's a bit too OP when he's in the jungle, to be honest.
Talk to me a bit about the top lane matchup then between the Set and the Shen.
I mean, I'm not sure how the interaction is with Shen and Set E, but if it is how I think it is, where Set E interrupts the Shen E,
Yeah, it does.
I think it's a lot easier. Okay. Yeah. Well, then I think it's pretty much. I mean, I think early game, like the few first levels, pre-6, I think Shen probably got the advantage in terms of Set can't really use his Q because of Shen W. But I mean, it also depends on where they fight. If they fight in the minion waves, they probably got a better advantage because of the E stun. But I think it's mainly just gonna be a very passive lane. I don't think there will be much fighting. Maybe for grasp procs, but that's about it.
What about in the later stages? Like, let's say we get to side laning.
I mean, then Set's gonna bruise for the Shen, I think.
Really? You think that Shen isn't like one of the best side laners in the game? Especially into melee champs?
I mean, I think in terms of 1v1, I mean, in terms of on the map, then yeah, Shen will obviously be better because of the ulti. And that he can easily rotate on the map towards his team. But I think in terms of just pure 1v1 fights, I think that will dominate it.
Well, I think
but I'm
that
not
we
sure.
will be watching how the outcome of that will actually dictate the rest of the game. As you guys can see, we've already finally loaded into the game between NSG Ruination and Crown of the Ruin King. Ruination obviously being the sister team of Forsaken, who managed to pick up a 2-0 for themselves earlier. And I have the overlays wrong, I believe, because I awarded a point to the wrong team here, because obviously some of the shenanigans that happened behind. No, actually, I wasn't wrong. I was not wrong. Apologies, guys. Sometimes all these behind the scenes stuffs can be pretty hard to keep track of, especially once just coming out of a game. So yeah, the situation was that we find ourselves already at 1-0 for the side of Crown of the Ruin King. They didn't actually play a game. It was just because the players didn't show up in time for Ruination, and so we do punish that.
I mean, we do see the Conqueror from Echo, so we might see some Nash's Tooth action instead of the Lich Bane. One of my friends was actually a really good Echo jungle player. He's like a high-low Echo jungle player.
Was it me?
Nah.
I'm kidding.
Not quite. I haven't really seen your Echo, but I mean, he says that in jungle you mainly want to go for the Lich Bane instead of the Nashers.
Yeah.
And in the mid lane you rather want to go for the Nashers.
Yeah,
just because you're gonna split on mid lane, and in the jungle you're gonna be playing towards your bot lane and mid lane, and having your thing on the side lane. So that's gonna be interesting. And we see the spellbook from Zoe. Really like that. I don't think there's that much any better rune for competitive, at least.
I think Electrocute is okay.
Yeah, but I think if you can use the spell book, I think it is a
Yeah.
lot better.
I think I would tend to agree. I think that that spell can be really, really impactful. As a lot of trading up towards the top side already for Perlo and Lunge changing blows here.
Might see an early kill in top lane. They are trading a lot. So
Well, they have
we'll have
both
to see in
recovered
the
a
following
considerable
level.
amount of HP as a nice binding, but so does the bubble land in mid lane. Another binding down towards the bot side, but once again another skill shot in return as Comfy finds ourselves on the worst end of that trade, as they had already reached that level 2 mark, and the pace of the game is certainly picking up at this level 2 point.
I
Nunu
mean, here we see the
would tend to
Nunu
agree and is
W
already
from
starting to snowball in. The Ezreal does not have the E. The hook does go onto the Morgana, so it doesn't quite hit the Nunu, but the Black Shield would have been on anyway. They do force the flash out of the Thresh, and well, they do trade some damage back. Now Repello could potentially look for a solo kill up towards the top side. W does go wide, as Lunge does stay safe here, does not even have to utilize his flash. Drakali actually sitting on top of this ward. Confi with a
Nunu
nice
is in.
timing on that spell shits. I'm sorry for interrupting you here, but you are definitely correct in saying that the Nunu is going once again. But here's the bubble that is actually going to connect then in return.
This is what I talked about a bit in the early stages of in the draft stage. That the Nunu W, you need that deep vision in the river, otherwise you're not gonna see this Nunu coming in with the snowball.
Well, Nunu and Echo find each other in the river here, and Coda World is actually pretty low, and so the Nunu W that doesn't come from far away, but rather comes from directly on top, is also going to connect, unlike the bubble there. Meanwhile, Lunge taking more scrutiny, and Shrek did actually back off in the end, so he did not want to opt for more of these trades. Nice binding here connecting, but the Shadow Dash actually goes wide. That could have been a potential solo kill for either of these two players, and Repello does not look like he's done. Good trade here from the grasp. Oh my god.
Minions?
And the first but through the minions.
The Winions, the Wincon.
Oh, well, the hook is now available, and the Black Shield is not in time, so now the late Black Shield onto just leak things mean that Confi is under a lot of pressure here. Drakali in a similar boat. Pretty even trade in terms of total HP bar, but the Nunu is trying to get that more in favor of Crown of the Ruin King as the Zap connects, but Yarda already being deep enough under the turret to not be followed up upon.
I mean, already a lot of spicy fights at the early game. We see the top lane when we won from the Wincon of the minions, and we see the bot lane really fighting heavily. And the Nunu already got 3 ganks off and a skirmish in the jungle, while Echo still only have taken his jungle camps.
Well, you say gangs off. Yes, he forced a flash.
I mean, it's just mainly pressure ganks, right? It's not
Well,
really a kill gank.
in a way, yeah, true, certainly. But the thing is that Echo does secure himself some camps in return, so he is certainly liking that. Now Echo is looking for a gank, and this could never be successful. If anyone knows the interaction between Echo and Lux.
He died!
Oh my god, what was that?
That was really yikes.
Oh no. And
The
now
Death might die
maybe
here.
another kill here because Confi does secure it with the ground here as Reperlo is looking at Shrek because he is trying to play aggressively towards him. Kodo Worlds with a huge blunder, and the flash taunt comes out onto the set here, who then returns in kind with his own flash. Shrek here pushing out the minion wave together with Lunge, but the Zoe is looking to potentially roam up here to try to help his top laner out. Also, Flash still lying on the ground could potentially set up for a nice Zoe play here. She is walking in, not spotted on any sort of vision whatsoever yet. Pops the cleanse early on. That means it's not up for the Shenton. Does mean that she does get taunted up here, and they do find the kill early on though. Lux now coming in to try to equalize the play. Does use the E and does try to fire off the R, but it does go wide. And now the binding also not connecting onto the Zoe here. Not looking for any further trades though, as they find a nice kill to equalize the kill score up in the top.
I think maybe if Lux splash outward instead of ulting, then maybe that could have resulted in a kill there, but...
Potentially. I mean, it would have forced out the set W, and when you do force that out, then you can start looking for those ultimates as the smite comes down for Shrek, and Kodo Worlds looks distraught.
That's really unlucky. You hate to see it when the jungler just comes up and smites your little scuttle away.
Oh, Zoe uses the flash to actually get away after connecting a nice bubble here. Nunu is trying to find the kill here as the E does go wide. Very strange utilization of that E here, but they still force out
Yeah.
the flash on the Zoe. I mean, you know that she comes back.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You already know where she's gonna go back to.
Well, this is looking less clowny than the last game that we've seen so far, as at least these players are connecting their skill shots, and that means that Lux finds a solo kill. Now, that is one of the dangers of this Lux Zoe matchup because of the predictability of the Zoe. I mean, a good Zoe always stays unpredictable, and finally Code of Worlds manages to secure himself some advantage as they find the dragon. Drakali landing a nice hook, and the Black Shield means that Jinx will not quite be caught out here. Drakali now being under a lot of scrutiny from the AD carrier in Just League things, as the Shen ult comes to answer the TP here from Perlo, who utilizes the Facebreaker, the Showmaker rather, as he is just caught out and in no man's land, and Crown of the Ruin King are collapsing continually on the side of Ruination.
I mean, this Lux really has been around the map. She was
Yeah,
top
looking
lane, she
great
was
so
mid
far.
lane solo killing, and she's picked up a kill on the bot side of the map. I mean, really good performance from King Daddy Sage so far.
Yeah, I mean, we did question the Lux pick, maybe more so than the Nunu. We were not sure what the Nunu was going to do, but we were even less sure of what the idea of the Lux was, especially to that Zoe matchup. But certainly making it look very good so far, utilizing the predictability coming out from this newly added player to the roster of Ruination.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we were wrong again today,
I mean,
which
we're
hasn't
wrong
been the
every
first
day.
time.
Yeah.
True. But something you guys didn't have a pause the last two games, right?
We didn't have what?
A pause in the game.
No. True. Oh my goodness! Now that you
That's
mention
the
it,
new one.
that is indeed new. But what
First
isn't
game without a
new?
pause, I think it is actually.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe you're right about that one. Well, Nunu has actually managed to find his way up towards the top side, and now Raperlo does dodge out on the snowball nicely. But he has managed to win trades pretty consistently so far. That does not mean that he will do the same this time, however, because a nice Shadow Dash means that the Nunu can just secure it with the kill. Shrek finding a second successful gank here. And also placing down the Herald means that Code of Worlds is just here to try to defend this turret. Gold goes over to both players. This time around, we do see that better.
Do you like this Herald top lane?
No, I think that's the least important part. That's the least important lane to extra secure gold in,
Yeah.
especially because of how well Daddy Sage is doing. And he always can get priority, I feel like, with the Lux now having this much of an advantage already. So could have potentially looked to place that down there, especially with how often Nunu has even been there. Well, it is what it is, as they say.
Yeah.
And the gold will certainly not go into nothing.
Nah, I mean it's still how much is it? 320? Yeah, 320 from 2 plates. No. Now
Yes.
I'm confused on
Yes,
yeah,
is
it is
320
320.
gold.
Simple math. Gone a bit wrong there. I mean it is still 320 gold going into the side of Ruination.
Ruin King.
So it is Crown Ruin King. Yeah.
It does get a little bit confusing with these two names, but after today we
Yeah.
will not have to worry about that many more times in the future. But yeah, the game has slowed down a little bit after some early pacing. And so
Really
these
chaotic early game with a lot of fights and skirmishes, but as you said, it is slowing down a bit more. So maybe maybe they don't want to force it as much on the side of the Crown Kings.
Okay. We talked about the Zoe spellbook, right? But Conqueror on Echo? Now that's news.
Yeah, I guess it's because you have more extended fights than competitive, so that's
And I
probably the reason why.
I think that we also see less lethal tempo Jinx, but I think that's still a classic. Like, Set trying to look for a solo here on lunge as he tries to dash away, even picks himself up a nice little minion here. Bubble does connect onto the Nunu here, and with the movement speed coming out from the Zoe W passive, means that she will just be able to walk away after activating that active item. Kodo Worlds does dash under the lantern and gets out. But here is Shrek once again to try to throw a snowball towards these two bot laners. Yordra does once again get out of it though.
Something I would like to see is a Dark Shield coming out from the side of King Daddy's. Just to get that potential Magi's, since it is a long-range mage. If it's a long-range burst mage. As we have seen has gone really good for some of the other burst mages in the league.
Indeed. I mean, even though yesterday we were told that it was a disrespecting your enemy, I think that if we take a look at general international play, people are sort of not shying away from that item anymore. They're respecting it as a real purchase because of just the sheer amount of gold that it can give you. And Kodo Worlds gets binded up. How does the Echo keep getting rooted by Luxia? The bubble is traded in return, and so a lot of damage coming out with a huge overstack of players here for the side of Ruination as they're trying to force it onto Shrek now, who looks to trade back onto Kodo Worlds, but the ultimate does time nicely, so they don't quite manage to find themselves the kill, but they do find themselves now lacking two of the dragons that Ruination have already secured for themselves.
Honestly, it's kind of weird for me that the...
Close, not only on the kill on Echo, but also the dragon also going super
That
low.
was on like 30 HP, the dragon.
Yeah, and the Echo.
Yeah, also the Echo, of course. Now I completely forgot what I said before. Oh yeah, it's surprising to see that we might see a solo kill.
Oh, okay, this is how the Zoe can actually change the matchup in her favor, though.
Yeah, I mean, she's also a burst mage, so... I mean, you don't underestimate Zoe's bubble Q combo damage. Like, that's gonna hurt.
I definitely do agree with that. And we do now see some of the first item completions. Do you like the Ludens on the Luxia?
I mean, yeah, I do actually, since they have the triple squishy in terms of the Echo and the Zoe and the Ezreal, so...
So the magic pen that comes out. And maybe some more magic resist will be penetrated as the Nunu has made his way up towards the top side, sidesteps away nicely from the Haymaker here, but Kodo Worlds is here to try to at least answer the play as Reperlo will drop to lunge first, and now here comes the second snowball of the teamfight. Shrek once again missing it on Kodo Worlds here, but the activation of the Nunu will guarantee 2 kills here in the top side for Crown of the Ruin King, as they find themselves now sitting at about 3,000 gold advantage.
It is kind of surprising that the side of NRN is actually up to Dragon, since the side of CRK really got this bot side pressure. Like, all the Nunu gangs in the bot lane really made sure that bot side of CRK had the prio, and the mid lane being up 3-0, who should also have perma prio. So... I mean,
they have looked to prioritize the Herald and maybe some of the turret trades and laning instead of picking up the first 2 dragons. And so we will now be going towards a mountain soul. And just the sheer thought of 4 mountain dragons on a Shen. I think I have an idea who wins side laning then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just in general, 4 mountain dragons on anyone in general. I mean, that's...
Echo is spotted out down here because the ward actually spots out Kodo Worlds where he's trying to set up this lane gank, and Nunu is not far away from this, and they will now know that the jig is already up. Not backing off though. He is persistent in trying to look for this play, and I think Confi and just League Things are just being very respectful of the possibility of him still sticking around.
I mean, 4 mountain dragons in one team, that's a lot of percentage. Just on your base, that's in... Like, this Jinx is gonna have like 130 armor or something like that. If they get the 4 mountain dragons, of course.
Coda of Worlds is still in bot lane.
Yeah, I mean,
Lunge
I
is
don't
now
really
level
like
11
this.
up against Repairlos a level 10 and does have the ultimate available. Has already lost a couple of HP and the pressure is certainly on for him here. As, what am I watching in mid lane? Everything going wide here for the side of Sage as he does end up taking all of the skill shots in return. Nice drift here directly around the corner here from Shrek as Drakali will be under a little bit of pressure but nothing major so far.
I mean, Echo spent so much time in the bot lane when his whole jungle is up, which I really find weird. I would have loved to see the Echo just power farm, since he can't really get anything done at the moment, it seems. But I
Well,
mean,
they are sitting at very similar CS values, and Coda Worlds finds Shrek caught out in the W here, as Zoe is here to try to assist this, and the sleep will actually completely deny the Nunu ult, as that utilization kind of looked like it was more for getting the shield. Now Set has actually started up the Herald on his lonesome, and no one seems to be quite aware of the play that he's trying to go for. Shrek not even looking into that part of the river.
I mean, we are approaching the third dragon here, so hopefully the side of CRK will get some dragon attention here, so they won't give over the soul point.
Well, they
I
have a
mean,
lot
we'll
of completed items as Shrek this time around gets hooked, does not have his ultimate available, but the stand beside me comes out from the Shen. But so far it's just the two beefy boys from the side of CRK that are pathing into the river here. Now the rest of the team is starting to follow up, and two ultimates down for both sides now. As the dragon control has been wrestled over for CRK, placing two control wards in the pit, because double safety we all know is always better.
mean, in my
Rapello
opinion,
does find himself the turret, but he doesn't have TP up. I don't know if CRK is available of this, as in Lux ult actually tags up two members. Yakota World's trying to go in, but extremely early. Already has to utilize the ult, and Nunu easily secures it with the chomp, and
yeah.
the smite.
I think when from the side of NRN, they just have to give this dragon up. You set his top lane with no TP, you're playing against the Nunu.
Wow, look at the set gold though. Securing himself that Rift Herald meant that he also gets that tier 2 turret.
1.4k gold lead in the top lane. This is actually surprising since they actually got so much success in the top lane with the top lane gangs.
Yeah.
But I mean, he also.
But there might be some attention now paid towards Sage here, as they do finally find the shutdown on Sage, and that gold will go a long way here.
I mean, this is really lovely from Zoe. Getting that shutdown from the Lux, and maybe even. Never mind, they won't go for the mid lane turret.
Well, so far, CRK has demonstrated very good late game team fighting, and they certainly have a composition to try to set exactly that up. With the objective control we have seen around most of what's been going on, other than maybe the first two dragons, they have certainly looked good. Now Ezreal has to utilize a very early E, and so the Chompers come out and they find the kill. Shrek just barely catching the Ezreal with the activation of the Total Zero. What is the Nunu ultimate called? Sub-Zero? Absolute Zero. There we go. Absolute Zero.
So surprising to me that you know all of these names of the abilities.
I don't.
I mean,
I'm just learning them as we go, you know?
You know a lot of them at least.
Well, Morgana does Black Shield herself, so the bubble goes totally unpunished.
I mean, this top lane is really pushed in.
The Ezreal had Cleanse available, and then cleansed the Nunu snowball, which meant that when the Chompers came out and actually rooted him fully, he had no way of getting out of that, as now they find themselves a lot of damage here on the mid lane tier 1 turret. Code of Worlds stepping in to actually have some sort of damage traded back onto Sage as he utilizes the stopwatch. Is under a lot of danger, and nice little play coming out here from the side of Code of Worlds. Now the Shen being ulted back by the side of Repearl as a huge amount of damage is actually traded on. Now Code of Worlds continually stepping forward, and a great team fight when you're tying up the kill score between these two teams, and Ruination ruins Crown of the Ruined King.
They're heading towards the Baron buff. I mean, that was an amazing set W, like 720 true damage and like 2-3 people from the side of CRK. That did wonders. And the set ultimate as well, ulting in the Shen into his own team.
Yeah, I mean, Set having an outstanding team fight right there with the perfect timing on that play, with everything just being set up so nicely. Coda Worlds dropping a lot of HP as the tanking on the Baron is not sub-zero but subpar instead. And the no smite as well. Makes them all a little bit silly. Jinx Rocket is just slightly mistimed. Could have potentially looked for that. As they are potentially looking for the Set kill in the mid lane. Nice Black Shit actually interrupts the
The minions might kill her.
Oh no, not again! Not again!
The minions will kill her.
No! 2 kills that the Set finds through minion damage. Are you kidding me?
That is really rough. I mean, that was also a lot of minions. A cannon minion, like 2-3 melee minions, and a few caster minions. Those minions are not to be underestimated. They deal a lot of damage if they're clumped up. But it's surprising to me, like the side of CRK, they were up 3k gold in the early game, and now they're behind 4,000 gold. I mean, they really turned this game around.
That has really flipped, yeah. I mean, all of the advantages that we mentioned for them earlier are basically nullified. Oh my god, the bubble connects. I think this could be really dangerous, as Sage does end up living just about here.
I think if you got the auto take off, maybe.
Maybe. Potentially. Well, Zoe still has the flash up, and Drakali sitting behind the turret threatening the dive. No one is quite around to help, but no one is also around to help Lunge here, as Reperlo does choose to back off for now. Sage also gets out. And so it will just be the tier 1 in the bot lane for now.
This might be the Dragon Soul from the side of NRN.
Yeah,
they might catch the soul. This mountain dragon.
Well, it wouldn't be the soul, it would be soul point. Because,
yeah, soul point. Of course, not soul.
The TP now coming out from Reperlo as he's trying to catch these members out in the jungle. The Black Shield not quite in time, but with the flash means that the later on Black Shield does actually secure the Nunu's life. He's binding on Reperlo to interrupt whatever shenanigans he was trying to go for. The hook also going wide secures more dragon pressure though, and I think the side of Ruination does also realize that, as they're now pathing slowly towards the dragon, but who isn't pathing so slowly is the Nunu. Snowball once again tags up the Ezra, but he's managed to find his way over the wall, and this time around the interrupt does go through, and the Nunu does basically nothing. And so once again, Ruination find this teamfight victory here, being really, really clutch when it matters most, and that is what sometimes can eke out these wins, and they are certainly looking to cement their lead here by cracking open the tier 1 turret, tier 3 turret rather, and the inhibitor as well in the mid lane.
I mean, this game really just turned around fast. Like 10 minutes ago, the side of CRK were up 3k gold, and now they're behind. Quick math, can't be done. 7k gold. We do have a bit of a math problem.
It is closer to 6k gold, but you are right. The gold advantage just keeps growing and growing here for the side of Ruination. As they struggled so much in their laning phases, as we have been mentioning, but now the clutch ability, nice little binding here. Once again, a late cleanse, but it doesn't actually lead to anything because after completing the Ludens, look at what has found its way into the Lux's inventory. Basically nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this Lux had this build 10 minutes ago as well. When she first got the Ludens and the Lucidity boots.
Yeah. It's been really, really rough. The game has certainly turned around in favor of Ruination here.
Something I don't like is the Horizon focus from the side of Zoe.
What? Really?
Yeah. I would have loved to just see a death cap.
I think the Horizon focus is decent.
I think the item is just not that good in general.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree with that. Why do you think it's not that good?
I just don't think that the value you get from it is better than the value you get from death cap void stuff. When you have the Ludens as well.
Okay. Interesting. I guess I just... Yeah?
I just feel like the damage is way more with the death cap and void stuff. Because you already have the penetration from Ludens, so the death cap's gonna be giving you way more AP. And the void stuff's gonna give you the percentage magic pen as well. which is gonna tear apart like these carries.
That's a very interesting point you make, especially because Horizon Focus typically also means that you have to hit the bubble in order to deal damage successfully. But if you do keep hitting bubbles, there is at least some amount of value that you can gain from that item. I think that you're, like, the way that you're phrasing it certainly makes it look like, oh, we're gonna have a solo kill up on top under the turret. Reperlo does not give a single flip about this turret. Takes it down and now flashes forward with a W and just murders Confi here. Oh no. And
Wow!
it's not looking better down towards the bot side either.
I didn't even expect that. I thought he was just gonna W and then he would die and then it would be fine. But he
Nope.
just straight up flashed them again and one-shot her.
What an outstanding performance. Maybe one of the best top lane performances we've seen all tournament long. Turret's still pretty low here, but so is Code of Worlds, who utilizes first the ult and then the stopwatch. The Jinx does manage to execute him at the back end of the fight, but it will be a jungle for jungle trade.
I mean, if the side of CRK is gonna come back into this game, it's definitely gonna come through that Jinx. Like, Jinx is almost sitting at 3 items. He is really, really strong. And with the rockets and everything, and the squishy targets from the side of NRN, she can definitely carry if they hold on for like maybe 5 more minutes. But I mean, the Baron is up, the Soul is coming up in 145. So they don't have the 5 minutes time thing. Time, I don't remember what it's called, but hopefully you all understand what I mean.
Well, what I do understand is that both of these teams are now starting to posture on Dragon. And Yorda is not happy about that, as he just decides to start the objective up for himself here. Luncheon Confi, close by.
I mean, I think this is a good start. You see this Nunu clearing a pink ward.
A pretty slow Baron damage, but they do still manage to secure it rather quickly because of the amount of sheer gold that they have by now. Lantern thrown over the wall to get Reperlo into the fight, and the bubble does actually connect. Black Shield here in time to save the Lux from going down to yet another beautifully placed Zoe bubble. Reperlo gets rooted up by the Chompers, but Code of Worlds is trying to find this kill onto just leak things here. Uses the ult and trades it with the Shen here. Now a huge E from the set to actually stop the Nunu R as well. And it does look very, very dire here for the side of Ruined King. Or at least the crown of it. As they're now starting to push in with 5 Baron buffs still available. TP up for both Zoe and Seth. They could just look to recall and then potentially set up for an extended siege. Zoe does look like that is what she is trying to do, as the hook does connect, and that means that they will just go down, and none of the recalls actually go through because they just decide to murder everyone in the base of Crown of the Ruined King. And this certainly looks like the end of game number 1 here, and the fact
this is game number 2, just to correct you.
Well, I was gonna say that they tie up the series. I don't know about the terminology.
Oh. Yeah.
They are going to tie up the scoreline eventually, and that is the situation that we now find ourselves in, as I haven't set up my camera, so you guys cannot see me, but I am back. Yeah, I mean, 1-1 now between these two teams, and the first 1-1 we have in the entire tournament.
First time we go into this BO3, I hope they will make an amazing game 3. I mean, this was a really, really back and forth game. Like, you had the CRK coming out on top in the early game. They couldn't extend their leads, and the side of NRN took advantage of that, and they got their lead back, and then they just extend the lead. I mean, really good performance from the side of the Seth. I forgot his name.
Reperlo having an outstanding performance.
I mean, really showing dominance in the top lane. Even though he got ganked so many times and got butchered by the Nunu, he still came back and he still ended up so far ahead of the Shen. I mean, this is almost I'd say kind of a 1v9 game, honestly, from the side of Seth. Like, the
the Zoe did certainly do well as well, and I think bot lane stayed super safe, so I think that there were some avenues. But
I
yeah,
just think the massive lead that he got from the solo play that he did topside, the solo rift held into the top lane tier 1, getting that first blood turret,
well, his team
and then
kind of ran it
extending the
around
lead.
Dragon as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely delayed the time of the enemy team by having a little handshake in the dragon pit or around the dragon pit. But I mean, just that lead that he got from it, first blood turret, he got the tier 2 turret, which also gives insane amount of gold.
Mm.
And then the team fight they did after that around the mid lane, where he just ulted the Shen into the enemy team. He did an amazing set W, dealing like 2,000 damage, true damage,
It was crazy,
with
actually.
his fully charged W.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he really made the decider.
I think
Uh,
you're right. I think you're definitely right about that. And I mean, it just kept going. We can go from play to play to play to play that he
mm,
made. And do you expect that set to be open once again?
I mean, maybe not. I think in the first ban phase it's still gonna be open. I don't think it will be that high prior to get away. But maybe in the second ban phase they'll probably look to ban that out if they're gonna up into the Shen pick again. Um, but I mean, I don't think it will be that high prior to get away.
Hmm.
That they will do it in the first ban phase, but
Okay, okay. Well, I think that teams that tend to be, I don't want to say smashed, but that tend to face someone that looks extremely confident on a specific
mm,
champion and extremely dominant, they do tend to really like to ban that specific champion out so far in SLE.
yeah.
I wonder if we're going to see a similar trend here, as we've already gotten all the players into lobby, so we are going to be kicking off draft in just a couple moments, waiting for the draft link and stuff like that. You guys know the drill.
You don't have it. It's already started as well.
Okay, well, I don't have
I'll
it, so
send it in DM.
that is too kind of you, good sir.
And CRK is starting on the blue side, and they
Mhm.
already opted into the Vladimir ban. So this is a bit of a weird ban for
They
my
banned it last
liking.
time as well.
Oh yeah, I mean I guess it's mainly because of the side of NRN maybe got a Vladimir myth or top lane player.
They
Haven't
did.
really checked out what they play. Yeah,
Did.
then it makes sense to ban out that comfort pick and the sack ban coming out again. Of course, the side of CRK got an amazing sack player.
True, true. Yeah, I mean, what else have we not mentioned about the last game? I think it's a very easy tell to tale. Not a lot of surrounding factors other than just an outstanding performance from the set. Struggling Echo Jungle, but the rest of the map looking decent to stable as well for the side of Ruination. So they're obviously debuting their new lineup here. They're having some roster issues, looking at least somewhat promising so far.
Yeah,
top
I'd
lane-
agree with that.
top lane is sticking with them for the entire duration of it so far, and it's a bit of a statement game. So yeah, the Thresh actually gets banned this time around. They don't want to play that Morgana yet again. So
Yeah, I think it's mainly because they aren't that comfortable. Because the blue side Thresh ban, I don't really like it.
no,
I'd much rather just have them pick it themselves. But I guess it's because they maybe aren't that comfortable, and they just want to say we don't want to give you this ban. It's
but
too
this is the
broken.
second blue side Ezreal first pick that we see in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Ezreal is really safe. And we do see the Kaiser, however, which we did talk about a few casts ago about this matchup, where if Kaiser gets on top of the Ezreal, he dies. If she doesn't, Kaiser dies. So, I mean, it is a spicy matchup.
For sure, for sure. But they do have the Nautilus to actually facilitate that as well, right? I think that.
I mean, this
having-
is also just. Go on, sorry.
No. I'm curious as to what you were going to say.
I mean, this is just the classic, pair up the Kaiser with the Nautilus. You have the Nautilus ability, and then the Kaiser can dive in, and the Nautilus will obviously follow up as well.
Even in early levels, right? Just being able to
Yeah.
proc the plasma so quickly with basically anything that the Nautilus throws at anyone ever can can be a little bit ridiculous, and so you can look for really early trades, can even hook someone closer to actually get maybe some isolated Q damage and things of that sort. Also forces around similar timings, and now we do get to see the Israel Yumi finally coming out from the side of CRK. I know they've been wanting to play that for quite a while, and they do get the Galio in there as well. That mix of champions certainly does seem like what we would expect to see coming out from the side of CRK, and maybe they will once again be faced with a Silas mid lane, as that does seem to be the hover right now, and looked certainly very good last time around. I think the TF here would be a lot better.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that the Galio TF matchup is just iconic. Like
Yeah.
once one team picked the side of the Galio, then the other team just handshakes the TF.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And
the
TF
Silas
sets up so well for Kai'Sa, for Nautilus, and
Yeah.
against Ezreal Yumi. So they do go with Silas.
I would have loved to see the TF pick, but as many people probably know, I'm also really a big TF enjoyer. I really do love it, and I hope to see it a lot.
Here's the
We do
phase 2
see the
set down. Yeah.
Yeah, as
Good.
we expected.
As you expected, pat on the shoulder
Yeah.
to you, my brother.
I mean, here we also just have a standard Camille on the second phase ban, really broken champion. And we do see the Jarvan hover, rather not the ban yet, which I think is also really good.
What does Camille... Wait, a Camille ban indicates to me Kennen. Like, whenever I see anyone ban Camille, I'm like, oh, this team is going to pick Kennen. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, because, once again, we're talking about comfort picks a lot of the time, and I think that Lunge, that's generally really like that Camille. So I'm not too surprised to see it out as just another comfort ban here.
I think it's mainly just about the comfort. The pick is really broken, and it pairs up really well with the Galio. Like we see the Jarvan also getting banned, will also really pair up well with Galio. Even though I don't really like the Jarvan ban, since you have a Silas, you have a Kai'Sa, you have really high mobility to get out of this Cataclysm. And now I have to be a bit fancy and say some ability names as well.
Okay. I mean, I see you. I put respect on that.
But I mean, when you have these two mobile champions that can easily get out, I think it's not that good of a ban. But I mean, if you don't really have anything else in mind, then I think it's a really good ban since it pairs up really well.
They do take the Diana out of Kotor World's hands, so that does certainly seem to me like he would end up going for something like the Echo once more. I mean, at the end of the day, these players are clearly picking for comfort here. This is totally ignoring anything that we know about matchups, maybe apart from Kai'Sa and Ezreal. But other than that, there's been some questionable choices, some choices that maybe we wouldn't go through with, personally. But I guess these players do know best themselves.
I mean, Trundle into Diana is really also just an iconic pick. The Diana can't really do much against the Trundle in the early game.
Yeah. I mean, the Jax blind pick once again. Let's see if there's yet again another self-counter pick where...
Maybe we'll see a Malphite. I mean, you do have a lot of AP then, which does work in the favor of Galio, but... I mean, it's just such an iconic counter pick, and it's really unplayable from the side of Jax if they do up into the Malphite pick. And I think it won't even be that bad. The Tom Kench, as we heard from the Jax main himself yesterday,
True.
which is also a really annoying matchup. You have to do the happy feet technique, where you dodge out these Qs, otherwise you're gonna lose out. And I mean, later on in the game, I think the Jax will just outscale at like 3-4 items. But I mean, in the early stages, the competence definitely got the advantage in the matchup.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting indeed. I think that TK being picked here certainly provides generally a lot more in the team fight, but it also puts Rapello in sort of a weak side situation, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, the matchup can be slightly winning, especially at the early stages of the game. Maybe even hard winning at the early stages of the game, but it's definitely not a pick that you typically tend to play around. And especially with the Diana also being paired up against that, I don't see many good angles for Diana to gank any of these lanes. Maybe apart from bot, but then again, this Ezreal Yumi can stay incredibly safe.
Yeah, I mean, it is an iconic weak side lane. You just let the Ezreal Yumi scale up, and you hope that they won't get dove. I would have loved to see like a dive jungler from the side of NRN, like a more beefy than Diana, so they can actually dive this bot lane.
Yeah.
Since they already know it's gonna be weak side,
Well,
like no one's gonna play from an Ezreal Yumi.
problem with wanting to dive bot lane is that the Galio is available, right? So that it does sort of like de-incentivize some of the potential dive threats that might be levied against the side of Crown of the Rune King in the way that they can defend themselves here.
That is true, but I mean, I think in the 3-6 game, I think you could have a lot of dives in there. Like if you just do a standard 3-camp clear the bot lane, which I think Kaiser Nautilus will get the prio just because of you can hold your hook and then Ezreal can't really walk up since he doesn't really have a beefy support as well. He just got a little cat sitting on his back. So
Cat
they
that
will
is
definitely...
extremely vulnerable to Nautilus, by the way.
Yeah, I mean Nautilus, if that cat ever goes out, either hit the hook, and if it hooks, she's dead.
Yeah.
Or you can flash auto attack it, and then it's most likely dead as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you had something like no, it's obviously that I can't say a single jungler.
Yeah.
Like a Volibear maybe or something like this that can dive. Then I think you could maybe stack the first 3 waves from the side of NRN and then dive on the 3rd wave
That would
where
be...
Galio can't really ulti down.
Yeah.
Just do like a 3-camp clear from the side of the jungler. And then
Have you seen enough from these teams that would give you a lot of confidence that they could execute on that?
I mean, I think it will definitely be something that would be really surprising if we saw it. I don't think that they are quite on the level to do those executes of those dives, but I mean, you can always hope, right? Maybe one day they will get up with some fancy techniques to coordinate these dives.
True actually, and I think you're definitely making a very valid point here. Dives are what we see very little of in the SLE. I think that there are very few teams that execute successful dives, and that there is sort of like a glass ceiling that could potentially be broken through, that teams could improve on, like learning to coordinate and set up dives, learning to stack waves properly. So I think that that is, for a lot of teams, that could be the next step. I don't know if these two teams are finding themselves in a similar boat, as I think that there are also other things that maybe some of them could be working on. But I mentioned that the Code of Worlds was that they were picking the Diana away from Code of Worlds, but I'm obviously totally wrong because I said it before. This is obviously his pick. Yeah, he does play the Echo. He plays the Diana, and that's all of it. Like all of the things I've seen so far from him. So at least there is some comfort in jungle as well. When it comes to teamfights in the later stages of the game, how do you expect these teamfights to go?
I mean, I think that I think maybe Jackson and Galio will jump in on the backline of NRN, but then again you can't really since Kaiser's just gonna ulti away.
And you even
so
have
I think
Tom Kench as a safety.
Yeah, I think mainly Jax is just gonna sit on the side lane for the whole game. I don't really think he's gonna join the team fights, maybe at the objectives, and then and I think NIN will mainly look for the Diana engage, and then maybe Silas steal the Galio ulti, and then we'll Galio ulti on top of the other Diana, and then Kaiser coming in as well with the Nautilus as well, Tom Kench. So they got a pretty good dive comp, and I think Silas will can definitely stay alive for a long time because there is a funny interaction with Silas Trundle, because when Trundle ultis the Tom Kench and Silas then takes the Trundle ulti and ultis Trundle, then he will be massive as well.
Oh my god, you're
so
right.
much armor.
You're absolutely right. I think that's
So
an interaction we don't see a lot, or I haven't seen a lot. So thank you for bringing that one up.
I mean, generally speaking, we just don't see it that much.
Mm.
I mean, Silas could also up into the Jax ulti, get that resistance in place, so you have the massive healing with the W if the side of CRK doesn't get that anti-healing. But, I mean, I think generally speaking, I think NRN got a better team fight comp.
Yeah, they have a lot more sort of versatility and variety in which they can approach
Yeah,
these team fights. And
exactly.
I mean, CRK
And
has certainly also picked up wins with more unorthodox team comps and like showed strength where we wouldn't have necessarily expected it. And they do find themselves yet again, as I mentioned, with that Ezreal Galio, right? That is like their bread and butter.
yeah, I mean,
I
they
mean,
also just got a really good like kite back comp and disengage comp. In terms of the Yumi ulti, the Ezreal being so safe, and the Galio ulti and Galio W and the Trundle pillar. So maybe they can survive the initial engage from the side of NRN and then kite back and then eventually maybe deal so much damage that NRN can't run into them anymore. And
yeah.
then they will have to back off. So it will be interesting to see the team fights. They definitely both teams definitely have like a win con in the team fights. I think
agree.
it's mainly just if NRN does the dives the best, then they will win. If CRK does the disengage and the kite back best, then they will win.
I think recently though, I think we've seen a lot less success in general from like disengage comps because you basically only ever fight around objectives, and like if you're hiding away from the objective, like good luck getting back into the objective. So I think that
Yeah.
that is something that some teams do struggle with when drafting, as we are slowly loading into the game here, guys. The last game of today of Division 2 Week 1, we have Crown of the Ruin King on the blue side and NSU Ruination on the red side.
I mean, I also think that the side of NRN has still like the easier comp to pull off.
Ease of execution, I mentioned it a couple times
Yeah,
earlier.
as I can see in the stream overlay, you have to swap the sides of the names.
I do, thank you very much.
Always looking out for you, of course.
Aw. Thank you. Yeah, does anything surprise you in terms of like maybe some keystone choices or some early game item builds?
I mean, I think this is pretty standard. Like, you get the Conqueror from Jax, the PTA from Trundle, the Galio wanting to be more of a beefy frontline instead of like a one-shot carry. I also think it's the correct. You could see maybe the Galio up into a Predator instead of the Aftershock, just to get these better engages off, since they do like a lot of engage. But other than that, it's pretty standard.
Yeah. Well, so nothing too surprising so far, but the draft certainly has been brung a surprise or two. So we will have to see how that actually unfolds inside the game. Talk to me a little bit about what these two jungle starts mean at the end of the day.
I mean, I think this is pretty standard, like Trundle pathing away from Ezreal Yumi, it is a weak side, and Diana pathing into the Kaiser Nautilus, which will mean we won't have a Scuttle skirmish. I think the Diana will just do a classic full clear, and the side of Trundle will probably do a 4-cam clear in terms of the wolf, or the full blue side clear and the red buff. Since you do struggle in the early games with the non-single target cams.
Yeah.
So I think this is pretty standard
buff,
as well.
and then he is taking his wolf and now
Would
doing
love to see the
exactly.
Grump. He does the blue before the Grump.
Never
Generally
lucky.
speaking, I don't like this where you go wolf into blue buff instantly.
Yeah,
I much rather see
I mean,
the
you have
Grump.
amazing reasoning as to why you don't like that. I think there's an argument to be made for going buff grump wolves instead of buff wolves grump buff, right? I think you could do that. It has a similar sort of effect because you just synchronize the two respawns of the camps with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you go buff Grump Wolf, it's mainly if you want to land on the opposite side of the map for the Scuttle Crab. And if you go buff, Wolf, Grump, buff, then you want to land on the same side as the blue buff.
Okay, okay.
So, because then you will pass into the bot side if you do the Grump and Wolf. So,
Interesting. Interesting for sure.
I mean, you can
Well,
obviously still land on the top side Scuttle.
yeah, well, we do see some just minor trades for the start of the game, as we do so often. Sage do favoring that trade here, and Silas does end up missing the chain, which means that the flash has to be forced. Nice little capitalization coming out from the side of Shrek. Well, he does not know that Coda of Worlds is actually very behind on his scuttle timing here, and has instead elected to go for a full clear before even walking up to that scuttle crab. So that could have been a potential fight, but instead they will just not interact with each other at all. As
I
we
mean,
have
I think a potential fight would be dangerous from the side of Shrek since he doesn't have the bot prow. The mid prow is also gone after because of the stacked wave. So I think that the side of Code of Warworld's team would have moved first, and then it probably could have been bloody.
yeah, I think that there is definitely some truth to that. As is the cannon missed?
Oh,
No,
he
he
got
gets
it.
the cannon. Happy bee.
That would have been a bit annoying to watch if he missed that.
Yeah. Well, so far so good. Lunge actually opting for a cheater recall here, but is down 14 CS as the wave here is coming up into him. But 7 minions that he will collect here for himself. So just 7 down in total. But that means that Rapello has actually dropped a couple of more HP, and the longsword will certainly help out in those trades early on into the game.
Yeah, it definitely will. I'm actually surprising that he got the push on the Jax.
Like that he bounced it back, or that the Jax wrist like...
That the Jax got the push
Okay.
first.
I think it's because of the early game utility of the Counter-Strike, especially into matchups that are so heavily reliant on auto-attacking. Because what you do is you just go up, you bonk the guy once, you have all the minion aggro's on you, and then you pop the Counter-Strike, and for every single minion auto that you take in Counter-Strike duration, you obviously deal more damage with the Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Tom also getting a cheater off for himself has a very different item than just a simple longsword. And I don't think Lunge will be very happy to see that, especially now that the wave will be coming back into the Tom Kench. The later cheater recall here certainly looking very favorable for the side of Apparello. Potentially finding himself once again in an advantageous state in order to try to carry his team to the victory here. Auto attack comes out from the Nautilus, and so the Arcane Shift means that even the Flash has to be forward out. Now Rapurlo is under some scrutiny because Sage has rotated all the way up, but the Silas will just answer it with the TP here, as the Trundle is the third member of the side of Crown of the Rune King to arrive at this play. But the Subjugate has been stolen here. Galli also hitting level 6 with the death of some of the minions, and this is just all kinds of crazy. W does go white here from the Tongue Kench, and so will the Tongue Lash. Oh, you did not want to connect that up, Doc. That instantly kills him.
That's really unlucky that connect. I mean, you just don't want to go into Galli ulti into 3 people.
Oh, also nice bit of damage here from the side of just League Things. Skoda Worlds and Drakali were looking to clear the dragon instead of looking for that potential kill on the Ezreal. Another W going white here, as the dives have not been on point so far for the Tam Kench. Still sitting at a nice bit of CS lead, and the Ninja Tabi certainly also doing some work.
I mean, that was a spicy 3v2 top lane fight.
Yeah, and they look good, the side of Domination did, until they didn't anymore. That chain really dooming that play. And
I mean, it would have been so good if he just didn't hit the chain, and they could have just pushed the wave in and gotten away. Both gotten a recall off. I'm pretty sure that his wave was also pushed in on the Gallius third, so it would have slow pushed into him as well.
yeah.
But I could be wrong there.
Well, Sage does still have his TP available, and so Potentially some place could be found through that on the other sides of the map. But now the Galio ult is also about halfway off cooldown. So again, the Jax just tanks the minion wave up with the counter strikes, secures himself the cannon, as it is nicely pushing into him. Proto World's looking for his topside jungle once more. And now the Silas actually steals Galio's ultimate. So we'll see if he roams before Sage gets his ult back up, or what his next objective will be. He's certainly looking to try to free himself from the lane, but Shrek is trying to annul that. Walks over this controller and clears it for now.
It's a bit surprising that the side of NRN is taking such a slow approach to the game, since it's not really working into their favor, I'd say. Since they do have a Yumi as well bot lane, which is like later on in the game they'll be a lot stronger in terms of what they are now.
Why is he going for Nash's tooth? This is just making it worse. It is exactly what you're just talking about. You don't like how slowly they're approaching it, and then Coda World's going for the Nash's tooth. Just is like exactly that, just amplified. You're basically saying, okay, I don't actually want to carry team fights. I just want to farm my jungle, and it's just horrible to see.
I would have loved the Hex take. Is it called Altinator?
Yes, it is. Actually, they secure themselves the Herald and will place that up towards the top side. Tomkench with a dive once again, whiffing. Counter-Strike does stun him up, but not a lot of autos traded. Jax does get a good chunk of gold here. 320 solo gold from these turret plates. So nicely set up by Shrek to actually instantly
picked
convert.
up the Rift Herald then.
Yeah, pretty good, no?
Yeah, that's really good. I think it's perfect. That's really well played, actually. I don't think most team would have thought about that. Even maybe Div 1 teams.
Yeah.
Because the Trundle doesn't really need the Trundle doesn't want a lot of gold, but the Jax really want a lot of gold.
What do you think about the debate of going Tiamat versus not Tiamat in Trundle?
I mean, I think I don't think it's that good, since you don't really want to be a heavy farming jungler.
Yeah.
And you don't need that much gold.
Well, Reperlo is under more pressure up towards the top side here. He's a level ahead of at least Lunge, but does get interrupted in yet another dive, and the thick skin doesn't actually come out in time. So this time around at the worst end of the trade, and the TP coming in here from Sage as they're trying to set some pressure up towards the Galio. Flash forward here as they're not just setting up pressure on the Nautilus, but rather on the Kai'Sa first. Dive also started, but is going to be walked away from as large chunk of players now roaming down here from the side of NRN as they try to equalize on that play. TP advantage being utilized very effectively. Code of Worlds looking, but does get rooted up here, or CC'd rather, as now here is the Silas to try to at least secure some of the kills back. Code of Worlds this time around having a very, very good understanding of how much damage he could take and deal. Reperlo TPing into this lane, tries to actually catch Lunge out. As I say that, the dive once again missing, and the Q as well. So the fancy feet certainly being on point here for Lunge so far. Yeah, so about the Tiamat, I don't know. I don't think that anyone that plays competitive League actually builds Tiamat anymore. I think it's so unbelievably outdated, and everyone just rushes Divine Sandra. If you look at any recent pro games at all, I don't think that you'll find Tiamat in 10% of the games, because people are just like, nah, I don't need to farm. What do I do with the farm? Like, yeah, you're a little bit slower, but like, the champion is so good anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've seen a single pro either, especially with the change in Season 11 to the item where you lost the activation. People tend to go more into the whip before the nerf happened, like 8 patches ago or something.
They do find themselves the dragon, as my camera management has been a little bit troll this game. But yeah, the side of Ruination find themselves the second dragon yet again. So a similar story to game number 1, no? A couple kills going over in favor of the side of Crown of the Ruin King. But dragons are secured. Aye, a W lands on the for the Tomkench here. Q used on the minion here as Lunge is going to avoid that. But now the Tom Kench is trying to look for a solo kill here and is certainly dealing a lot of damage. The W once again goes
Can he
right
land
for
it?
lunge. Does not
Oh, the
have
leg lands.
Yeah, it does.
I also just checked on the pro stats of the Trundle,
Mhm.
and everyone opts into the Divine Sunder first item, and then it's either the Tabia Mercs, depending on game, of
Yeah.
course.
Well,
do
Silas
see
is
caps.
under a lot of pressure here. So even though they find the kill up towards the top side, Silas looking worse for wear here. 'Cause, I
They
think what
do-
you're saying basically settles the debate.
Yeah, they do opt into the Divine Sunder first item, of course, and then the Mercs.
Repairlo now under a lot of pressure here. The pillar already being down means that he does have the flash to get himself away from the counter-strike. Before it comes back up now, of course, and it's just not placed well enough. Code of Worlds could look to answer this play, but Repairlo is pretty low in the mana department. But is still posturing aggressively. Counter-Strike already coming out. This sets up nicely for Code of Worlds here, who then uses the Moonfall, and now Lunge has to utilize his own bar, but it's just not enough. As another Tom Kent W landing. Here comes the Silas with the Galio. No, it's the Galio with the Galio. Crazy things. And he does actually secure the kill on Code of Worlds. Silas being unbelievably late on the tempo of this play means that it's not as bad as it looked initially, and Sage actually converts nicely to find his team some advantages. Yumi with the panic ultimate on the Nautilus. I don't think they can actually kill that. Oh, they do land a very important Q, and now the Ezreal ult is up. Drakali will just walk away from it.
I think Israel should have played way more aggressive there.
He does have the flash up.
He did
but
walk
the
back a bit.
heal is available here to maybe save the Nautilus. And if you save him a little, he gets his W back available, so there could be some shenanigans around that.
Yeah, just to quickly go back on the Trundle thing and get it settled once and for all. They open to the Divine Sunder, then either boots Tabi or Mercs, and then they open to the Starex and into the Themis chain. I
think that there is, like, if you're snowballing hard, like let's say you have all of the gold, I think that there is an argument to be made to going the Lee Sin. Oh, actually, I can't even talk about that yet because Diana will be caught out here. But oh, Worlds this time out not having the Moonfall available. And yet another nice catch here from the side of Crown of the Ruin King that don't still find themselves at a huge gold advantage yet. Trundle also looking to maybe secure some damage on towards Repairlo, who's instead proccing the Demolish onto the turret here. Gets that turret for himself first of all. Now here comes the Silas with the Galio. This time the circle is red, but it's just so late. Drakali is here. The first support roam that we've seen all game from both teams, and that is actually a totally successful one. And as I say that, he flashes forward to secure the kill here. Does fall in the end, but at least saves the life of his mid laner and secures a kill. Yeah. Oh, Sage is not happy about being out-roamed here, but just a little bit late on that.
There's just so much action going on in the game, we can't even get to speak about anything. But I mean, it's lovely, it's lovely.
That's why we have the podcast, as Code of Worlds definitely gets the solo kill here. Flash not available here for the Jax, as he's trying to play around the turret, but it's just not successful. Yeah. Nice little pickup here for Code of Worlds. Now they're playing away from the dragon that is up in 50 seconds, so they have to path back down there instead. Code of Worlds looking for the Rift Herald potentially. As I say that, yeah, he is certainly pathing around it.
What is your
yeah?
What is your thought about Diana going Rift Maker? I mean, she hasn't done it yet, but...
I mean, it fits the Nashes, right? I just don't see that being the most effective way to play Diana. I think playing a burst damage mage... Oh, another Herald picked up for a top laner here. Don't know if that is once again intentional, as the vision scores in the inventories of the players are absolutely abysmal, by the way. 9 vision score for the Diana here. That is hilarious, actually.
He still doesn't even have the Oracle lens.
Well, he does have 2 control wards in his inventory, though, so he is trying to at least make up some of the vision deficiency, as they're all standing on top of a ward. And as we talk jokingly about these vision numbers, the vision game is finally starting up around this dragon objective of Peril, and this is going to be a big 5v5. A huge knockup from Nautilus, and now Kai'Sa also jumping in, but the damage is traded back onto the Tahm Kench first, who will fall as the first casualty of the team fight. Now the second will be the Trundle and the Nautilus to fall shortly after. Coda World's not quite having the Moonfire available. In just a few seconds, there is a potential for a re-engage. I don't know if they communicate that, but so far, it does look like there's going to be a huge teamfight win here for the side of Crown of the Rune King, as just now Coda World's ult is back available. Communication is all over the place for these teams.
Yeah, I mean, this is the fall of Diana using the ulti on the Jax in the top lane 1 minute prior.
I mean, they
So-
could just stall it out until they actually get that up. Why don't you just communicate it? As now Coda Worlds will once again find himself in a 1v1 against Lunge, but this time around Lunge is certainly looking like Coda Worlds is the Lunge here.
Yeah.
Now
I mean, the Yumi Jax also, it's really strong. Like, Yumi actually doesn't even need to sit on there, so she can just go on the Jax and he will be like
yeah, well, there's
really
more
high
fighting
team
going
tank.
on as the Dragon's already secured, but TP's come to actually try to end up turning this play in favor of Ruination, as after the teamfight they at least find themselves one kill, potentially chasing on to further, as Just League thinks is just walking for the minion wave here, and there's a potential of a dive, as Drakali's hook line, or dredge line rather, does go wide. Lunge, together with Confi here, looking to potentially go in. Not quite finding it yet.
What were your thoughts about the trundle thing you wanted to say a few minutes ago? If you can remember it still even.
No, I cannot.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Guardian Angel. I think you can build GA on as a third item after Sterix.
Yeah, I can definitely
If
see
you
that
like
working.
snowballing, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course. I'm not sure if we like this Rift Maker.
No, I'm sure I don't. But so far this has not been about what we like, but rather what remains effective. So this
Yeah.
time around, not all of the dragons. Actually, guess it did in the first game as well. But the story of the game just feels very similar to the one that we told in game. Oh, the pillar is magnificent here from Shrek, but backup is here for Reperlo, and they're now turning on towards the Trundle, and he does have to flash away. The W once again going wide. Oh, okay, well the pillar was certainly beautiful, but it did lead to him having to burn his flash.
Yeah. I mean, just taking a quick look at items, etc. I think the Jax build is very correctly. Going for that Borg secondary and the Divine Sunray first,
Yes.
and then he'll probably go
That
for
makes
the
me
Sterix
happy. That
third.
makes me smile.
And
Feels
then
good.
fourth item will probably actually he probably maybe doesn't
Sterix?
even need the Sterix third. Maybe he can just opt into the Witch End. Might find
Sure,
himself
yeah, I
bought
think
out.
Wits End has a lot of
Yeah,
has
it
a
do
lot
got
of
a lot of
value, this game.
value, and he also got the Yumi on him, so he will be not tankier, but in the sense of that he will have perma healing,
durable.
basically. So maybe he will up into that just to get that more damage in, and the MR as well.
And the attack speed
Sterix.
goes a long way.
Definitely, especially with the
Blade of Rune King.
exactly. So, I
Well,
mean,
then
it
it will be the Blade of the Rune King up against Crown of the Rune King.
We do see the Kaiser opting in for Lord Dominic's.
Mhm.
That I love.
Yeah, let's go.
I love it. I love it. He
Let's
definitely
go.
heard me talking about it. Here, us talking about it. Not only me whining about it.
Nah, but this is like your thing. I'll give you that.
Hmm.
Parallel now, for a brief moment in a 1v1, but that will shortly change as Trundle is oh, what a terrible pillar this time around. And he does get away to safety with a flash. A nice
Kaiser's
ultimate
also
coming up from
in
the
with
Nautilus.
Diana.
And this is just a huge collapse here from the side of Ruination, who tried to find the kills, but instead Shrek finds the kill in a 1-for-1 trade. So very confusing as to why the Kaiser was so unpeeled for. And they're certainly going to be happy about finding that one kill here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just getting in a 1-for-1 and a 4v3, and a 3v4 rather. I mean, that's always amazing if you have the disadvantage in numbers, and can still come out with the same outcome as the enemy. Then you're always gonna be happy.
Yep. And
Because then you're winning out in the mid lane in terms of CS or in the top lane.
I mean, I don't know if you caught the Moonstone debate earlier. The Yumi is electing to go for the Shurelius here. How does that make you feel?
I think that's. I think that's fine.
Ooh, Coda Worlds really has liked to gank the Jax up towards the top side. But, okay, everyone likes to, apparently. This does seem like
Yeah.
the dragon will then, in turn, go over to the side of Crown of the Rune King as they're setting up in place for it. Now everyone running down there as quickly as they can. They have 15 seconds to make their way over to that objective. 4-man stack. Reperlo also having TP up. But Crown of the Rune King is anticipating their mad dash for this objective and thus is sort of camping around this bush here. The pixel bush is cleared out. No, it's not. They go back into it and the objective has just about respawned now. So for now, it's a 4v4. Reperlo is coming into TP to once again start up this fight as a 4v4 because Nautilus has already dropped. And so the side of NRN rather, not liking the fight anymore.
I mean, I think it's.
Ooh, but there is an engage here from Coda Worlds. A very, very, very strange flash.
Yeah, maybe he tried to do some flash E onto someone to try and steal the dragon or something. I'm not really sure what the thought process was behind that.
Yeah,
But
me neither.
it definitely looked weird.
Strange.
Yeah.
Well, he
It was
has
definitely strange.
certainly been the shakiest member of his team in both of these games so far that we've seen. Even though he gets comfort picks every single game. Pretty interesting to see that someone so comfortable is struggling this much. But there has also been a huge amount of turmoil going on around, so there must be a lot of mental strain that comes with that. And so I'm happy to see that they're still competing, they're still fighting, they're still cooking. They did win themselves the first game here to tie us up for the first 1-1 scoreline in SLE so far. And now Crown of the Rune King is trying to answer that by collecting the series win in this game. They're up about 1,000 gold, which is basically negligible.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 gold is nothing. But they do have 2 mountain dragons, which is why I really hope the Jax is gonna go to Wit's End now, since that magic resist from the Wit's End and the Mercs is just gonna be amplified so well with the mountain dragons.
It's
Like
even great against Kai'Sa, right? What's Enders?
Yeah, exactly. And the Tamkench Q, I'm pretty sure, also deals magic damage, and I think also the Tamkench W deals magic damage, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, of course. And just the...
Okay, well they are both posturing around each other here as the TPs come out. Galio TPing first. Also having the ultimate available. Shrek, however, just munches down on the Nautilus here. Now continues clubbing onto Coda Worlds here as King Daddy Sage does like the thought of the dive here. Even though you have healing coming out from the item, it's just worthless. Actually worthless item. As Tamkench now finds his way in here, trying to at least save the turret. Does have the thick skin available. What a strange game we're witnessing here.
Yeah, it definitely is. Oh, I mean, it's surprising to me that they're only up by 2,000 gold.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the side of NRN also got the first turret, and there still have been no tier 2 turrets down. As I say that the tier 2 top lane turret just went down. So, I mean,
No
now
one
we
collected
also
that
see...
local gold, I believe. I think no one collected that local gold. But now the gold lead is actually open further in favor of the side of Crown of the Rune King, as they're at least trying to secure something for themselves, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, getting back into the game from the side of NRN is looking really rough. Even though it's only a 3k gold lead, it looks like they're way further behind.
I mean, I don't think it should be too rough, but I think it's mentally rough for them because they feel like they're behind because the Diana and the Silas have found so few plays that have worked out for themselves here.
Yeah. I mean, and the Jax is off getting into the Wits, which I really love.
Yay! Dude, Lunch is making all the right moves now.
And the Kaiser also went. She did not into finishing the Lord Dominic's, but I think this is also fine.
That's totally fine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's even creative item build pathing with, like, interrupting an item for another because you already have received the stat that you're looking for. And, so yeah, big ups.
And now she also got the E evolve with the attack speed. So,
yeah.
that's gonna be good for her. So now she got the Q and the E evolve.
Missed cannon.
That's an unlucky cannon. I mean, can't catch them all, right?
True, true. Well, he does try to catch out a Lunge here, as I somehow still think that he could still win the 1v1, even though the itemization from Lunge is so amazing to see, and should in theory be so good against the Tahm Kench. But
Yeah,
Tahm
I look,
Kench is
think
a
Tahm Kench
very
wins it as
well-balanced champion that should have definitely been released in the state that he
Yeah.
did come out.
I mean, Jax needs a Lord Dominic's, a Serpent Fang, and a Divine Sunderer, and Kraken Slayer before he can kill this
Oh,
Tahm
and a
Kench.
very aggressive Baron start here, as they're just walking at the objective. TP is up here from the side of the side, does come in here. They're continuing to fight as they're just frontlining with 3 people around this Baron buff. Kaiser obviously taking a boatload of damage, and the route onto the Trundle will be very nice here. Hook also going a long way, means that the Baron buff is already secured. Can they now walk away with those Baron buffs? Repairlo now as a second target under a lot of scrutiny here, trying to use the Grey Health in order to try to escape, and with the flash over, will force out at least the summoner spells from Lunge and Confu.
This was a very interesting Baron flip. I don't understand how it worked out, but I mean, it did work out.
So the way that it worked out was that they immediately said, okay, you guys have to turn and you have to zone them away. And all of the CC in the end landing onto the Trundle means that he couldn't get nearly close enough. Not only did that provide them the ability to safely smite the bear, but also some of the members could then safely get out of the pit. I think Coda Worlds did like not take anything here, not take any risks, just straight up flashing over the pit after the fact, which I like.
Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant idea. It does sort of work out for them. They lose a little bit of immediate gold in terms of losing their team fight, but the Baron buff will certainly go a long way. Now Coda of Worlds in a precarious side lane split push scenario, but does have himself Baron and Power to recall. So all about escape.
This triple mountain dragon is really stacking up now. Like, you have a triple mountain into basically a full AP team.
Yeah.
Obviously you have the AD from Kaiser and some AD in terms of base AD, basic attacks, etc. But I mean, it's mainly like 80% AP damage, so... And you have the Mercs and basically everyone. You have the Wits End, Trundle probably also gonna go into like a Spirit or something just to get more MR. And they do up into giving the Yumi the blue buff, which I really like.
It only takes about 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. And Trundle can only just sit there because he can't auto attack
Yeah, a single auto attack would just snipe it.
Yeah.
Where was the Trundle W for the Yumi attack speed? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I really love that they're giving Yumi the blue buff so she can spam that E and
Okay. Now this does look like not so bad of a position here from the side of Ruination, but they are just not going to convert on that, or going to be able to convert on that, as nothing is really up for them to take. Baron and Dragon still more than 3 minutes away both. They're just taking turrets instead. So this is the power of the Baron buff. Of course, the Shrek is sitting on his controller. As now he does opt to go in. The Perlo dropping extremely low, but does find the thick skin and actually gets out with a nice W. So good little play here coming out from this Tahm Kench once again, trying to really buy enough space for his team. However, no one actually managed to convert, and even though there were 4 players stacking on top of each other, Coda World simply did not want to go in. He's scared. Oh, and he has a illegal item here.
It just can't get worse, can it?
What is this?
I don't even want to comment on that. It's too much. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd noticed, but I'm pretty sure we actually saw the interaction with the Sylar stealing Trundle ulti
I think we did, yeah.
and Trundle ulting the Tom Kench, because I saw the Trundle getting smaller and smaller as well. Even though he already ulted the Tom Kench.
Yeah. And the Silas looking bigger and bigger. But yeah, I mean, good
Yeah.
play here coming out from Reparalo, who is looking really, really good on this team. I think.
I think Diana hard loses this.
Oh, what are you doing here? Well, you do have the backup of the Silas at least to maybe buy some time. And he does steal the Galio ult, which does mean that they at least force out the stopwatch. And now here is Yorba as they might find some kills. But Sage is unbelievably tanky. He's taking 0 damage. Just leave things Eing in? Da Vinci?
Yeah, I mean, usually though, I guess he maybe just wanted to trade the 1-for-1 and try and get the shutdown as well. But I mean, I think if he just maybe he can't really get out actually.
Yeah, maybe.
I think
Maybe they
maybe-
have good chase down potential. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
So he tries to flip
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's probably mainly about that he thought he had no escape, so he tried to go 1-for-1. We do see the GA coming out for the Kaiser, and then
Do you like
healing
it?
deduction. I don't think there's anything better though.
I think there is. I think there is a very underutilized item that no one ever builds on Kaisa. And I think
Hourglass?
it's the Blade of the Ruin King.
Blade of the Ruin King.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think I would have liked to see that one coming out. Because I think
Yeah.
that with 3 Mountain Dragons, I just watched the Galio tank like 10 Kaisa auto attacks.
Yeah, that is also true. They might get the soul here.
Yeah,
Which
they
would
are
be
certainly setting up
even-
around the dragon, and they have managed to maintain dragon control.
I mean, low key, if they get the soul, I think the game is over. Just based on that they have 4 mountain dragons. I don't think the side of NRN
Will
will
be
be able
Elder
to handle
Dragon
that.
smiley face?
I mean, yeah, there's always the potential for Elder flip, but I don't think that they will be strong enough to.
Okay,
take that
Code
fight.
of Worlds, you have disappointed us with your item build, but you have to land the big ultimate here. The fight is already starting off onto the Nautilus here as he will drop lower and lower. The fight is going on the opposite side where the Diana is finding herself right now, and so they will find the first kill even still as they just keep trading back and forth. Code of Worlds is just nowhere to be found, and they still find the team fight win because they're just simply out brawling them. The Tom Kench is an absolute hero, an absolute menace, and he's securing them at least the 3rd dragon. Dragon soul point now for
think
both
this
of
could
these
be an
teams.
end.
This could be potentially an end. You are, oh my god, 30 seconds. We will have to see. What?
And the can tank.
They still have Diana ult even. I mean, he was doing absolutely nothing, but he was
I mean,
maybe
he
just
did
buying
zone the
space.
Israel. He did zone the Israel in the start of the fight, so he didn't do nothing.
Well,
But
he is actually going to
Uh,
go for the end here. 10 seconds on the Trundle, 10 seconds on the
think
Galley,
this is an
second
end.
Nexus turret dropping, and
This is
NSG
an
Ruination find their first win as the game is over. I think that they,
yeah,
I think it's a surrender bug when someone spectates. Oh my
yeah.
god.
Imagine it's just bugged that the side of CRK just revived and killed them all.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Now we go and we see, no, okay. Well,
Yeah.
the side of
mean-
NSG Ruination find themselves 2 straight games to actually win out their first series, putting them,
I don't think they had to engage like that from the side of CRK.
okay, no.
I think they could have just taken the dragon because they the side of NRN they already backed off when Trundle was running at them. So I think that Esfel could have just free hit with the jacks as well, and then maybe Trundle Galio could have like kind of zoned them away.
Yeah.
But I mean, that Tam Kench was so tanky. Like this champion needs to be nerfed, please.
Please, right, you heard it here first. Oh, you definitely did not hear it here first.
Yeah.
By the way, that last team fight as well from the side of the AD carry of Ruination was just massive as well, right? So
Hmm.
insane performance here coming out, of course, from the top laner, who is by far the MVP of the series.
Yeah, I'd say
Clear,
so as well.
absolute mad lad. I mean, Lunge also looked really good. Have to say that. Condolences go
Definitely.
out to the side of Colonel Rune King, who had a very, very good game, and then just at the final hurdle, it slipped out of their grasp, and unfortunately did go over to the side of Ruination. Yeah, I'm very tired now. Is there anything you would
Yeah.
like to finish off today with?
I mean, just an amazing game. We had 2 amazing games we had today,
Yeah.
and obviously also the 2 prior games in Div 1. I mean, again, it was lovely to cast with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
It was
And
absolutely wonderful. Tomorrow we will have SG Momentum against TLC. I think that is a rematch for tomorrow, as I could be telling.
yeah,
No. I think it's not a rematch. I think that SG Momentum was in a group. No. I think
yeah,
that
they were in
TLC
the
was in a
group.
group with Forsaken. But yeah, TLC
Yeah.
versus SG Momentum tomorrow. I think it's going to be a very good game. Sadly,
SGM is the one with Sanders and Flay today, right?
it is. It is.
Alright, then
All
I'm
right.
not totally wrong on that.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. This wraps up the official part, the first 3 days of Supreme League Europe. We're about to conclude the first week. Just a couple more games. I think just tomorrow, in fact, and then yeah, we'll wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. Thank you for tuning in.